All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Starcade Media Studios with my guy, Trevor Twidwell.
Was good.
Episode 233 is in full swing, full motion. We're so happy to be here with you and for you to be here with us, whether you're live streaming, podcasting, or YouTubing. We want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this time as we have a very frustrating situation to discuss and break down. But you know what? There is always light at the end of the tunnel, especially when you are a Chiefs fan of these last several years, and we're going to get to a lot of that. Guys, we got a lot to unpack today, so I hope you guys are strapped in, ready to go, because Trevor and I have a fun-filled, packed show for you guys today. I know it's frustrating what we dealt with this week, but guys, we're here to talk about some things that could potentially uplift all of us, because I think talking about it is something that definitely helps us, especially myself, because I'm not somebody that is good at keeping my feelings in, and when I'm pissed off or I'm really happy, I like to express both of those emotions, and I think Trevor and I are going to be in a place to be able to do that with you guys today. And if you are feeling the exact same way, you need to get some stuff off your chest, or you got some questions that have been on your mind for the last couple of hours or last couple of days, hit us up in the chat, guys. Go to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe, hit the notification button, but most importantly, go to the comment bar and give us what you guys got, man. We would love to hear from you guys in the Speak It segment today. A little bit later on, guys, we're really excited to get to your guys' discussions, because we know that is the most important part in all this is our interaction with you guys, because that's what makes this community in the Spoken so great. We have a great guest today, also, guys, an OG, one of the guys that have I would say really brought in this new generation of Chiefs fans, a guy that's from the early 90s, a guy that saw the days of Marty Schottenheimer. He could tell you all the stories from back in the 80s when you could walk up to Arrowhead and buy a ticket for $10 to now where you're out there in the nosebleeds buying tickets for a couple $100. A lot of things have changed, and this guy, Mr. Shaggy Shane Williams, is going to tell us all about it. He's going to give us his reactions to the game as well against the Detroit Lions, because him and our producer Clay Windler of Red Tribe Cinema were actually at Arrowhead Stadium to watch the banners drop and also watch the Chiefs take an L, and that is something he's going to talk to us about and give us his honest opinions. Him and I haven't talked much about it. We just kind of pre-gamed a little bit yesterday about how we're going to go over things, but I don't really know his overall viewpoint on what he saw, what he thinks is going to happen, but we're going to get that today, and we're going to obviously hand out some L's, because that's what we do each and every week. We're going to hand out L's in the world of sports, because there's always plenty to pick from, to choose from, and Trevor and I are going to give you guys those as well. But I want to start here, first and foremost, with the Chiefs and the Detroit Lions. Going into this game, Trevor, I think you and I very much felt the same. We didn't give our predictions on last week's show because we were focused on general season-long predictions. But the consensus was, based upon Trevor and I's scoring predictions, is the Chiefs were going to be able to move the ball with or without Travis Kelce in this game. And the biggest reason why is because we were of the belief, and I still very much am of the belief on a more consistent basis, that as long as Patrick Mahomes has time in the pocket, he's going to make plays. He's going to find the open guy. He's going to throw accurate balls downfield, check downs, downfield throws, middle of the field. Doesn't matter where it's going to be. He's going to find guys. He's going to create plays. And that is exactly what did take place. I also felt that even though the Detroit Lions have an offense that is ran by OC Ben Johnson, who should already be a head coach in this league, this guy is one of the brightest offensive minds in the entire NFL, I felt that even though this was one of the 5 to 10 best offenses in football last season, they'll probably be the same this year. They got too much talent at the offensive line. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown as a wide receiver. They got some good weapons around a good, solid quarterback in Jared Goff. I felt that even though all those factors were at play, the Chiefs' defense, with or without Chris Jones, was going to show out, because I believe in this defense vehemently. Trevor and I had talked about this. We've sang its praises all year long, all offseason long, about how we think this is a top 10 unit. And they went out there and they showed just that. as to why we believe that. And we can break that down as well. I think there were some rookies that showed some serious flash, some serious promise moving forward. I am still of the belief that this defense, this team, can't win a Super Bowl or won't win a Super Bowl without Chris Jones, and we'll discuss when we think Chris Jones will be back if he ever ends up coming back. It was a very awkward situation that we saw him up in the suites with his Home Alone mafiosos up there, hanging out, those criminals that he's hanging out with, those guys that are leading him astray and losing him millions of dollars as we speak. But overall, this was even with all the jankiness that's been around this team as a whole going into this season, the jankiness, the oddities that went into leading into this game with Travis Kelce being a late game decision scratch. I know Travis Kelce did everything in his power to get in this game because he knows he wants to be a part of every single game he could possibly play in. The dude hasn't missed a game to injury since 2013, his rookie season. He's an ultimate competitor. And, obviously just being out there, you've been chomping at the bit all training camp, all preseason. You're finally getting a chance to go out there and play real football, and you get to be out there while the banner drops and it shows that third championship is officially announced at Arrowhead Stadium. It feels great. You want to be a part of that, and I don't blame him. But I think Trevor and I knew that deep down, more than likely, as well as most of you, we weren't going to see Travis Kelce in this game. But even with that, again, against a defense that I think is going to give you many opportunities to excel against in the Detroit Lions defense, banged up themselves, I felt it wasn't going to matter. I thought Patrick Mahomes was going to put on a show. The offensive line was going to give him plenty of time, even with Aiden Hutchinson on the other side, even with, not Zadarius Smith, but they have another pass rusher on that defensive line as well. A good defensive line. I felt the Chiefs were going to be able to give Patrick Mahomes enough time from the offensive line. He was going to be able to create enough from these young wide receivers, Noah Gray, Jerick McKinnon, the backfield with Clyde and Isaiah Pacheco. They were going to do enough to score points. And then we saw the realities of what took place. And we, luckily, before today's show, Trevor and I got to introduce our new show with Starcade Media with former Chief defensive lineman Von Booker chatting up the Chiefs. And we did the show immediately after the game. So Trevor and I already put out a lot of our takes, our immediate takes. But after a couple of days, I wanted to make sure that I still felt the same way about a lot of the things that I had said on the show. And I still very much do. I am somebody, Trevor, that I don't like to do the I told you so's. I don't like to do that because most of the time when I am in a position to do so, it's me being right about something I didn't want to be right about. And what we saw this week, and again, people are telling me it's just week one. What we saw this week, though, was something that I had been telling you guys all offseason about. The biggest concern I had all offseason was what this wide receiver room was going to do, how they were going to look, how they were going to perform. And I know that Travis Kelce being out throws a major wrench in the game plan, especially when
last minute.
Yeah, especially when it's a last minute thing. But I think if we're being honest here, I think the coaching staff knew for at least a day or two that they probably weren't getting Travis Kelce.
Still a day or two, you're already done with practices.
Sure. And I get that. So that is a legitimate excuse for this week. But the thing that I've been saying all offseason, though, is when you pass up on going and getting veteran wide receiver ones, difference makers that I had been establishing on my side, that's what the Chiefs need to do at wide receiver, you're telling me that you not only have enough at wide receiver to support Travis Kelce, but it's going to be enough to work for Travis Kelce. Because, guys, as durable and as much of an Iron Man as he has been in his career, there are factors at play here that we cannot ignore. That Travis Kelce is not a young football player. And we have seen, although he is still insanely productive, and I'm expecting that to continue to happen for this year and probably at least another year or two, but he is gradually getting slower. He is getting older. He has a lot of miles on his body. He hasn't taken a lot of punishment in his career, but he is a guy that has played a very tough, violent sport for over a decade now. So you have to have enough around him to not just support him, to be good around him, to be good for him when he's not there. And I thought it was so, Trevor, I thought it was so ironic and so symbolic that the worries I had going into this season were already on full display out the gate. It wasn't week 8 when Travis Kelce hyperextended his knee and these guys have already been kind of in motion. It happens before the Chiefs even get a chance to go on the field. And the saving grace that I saw and I will give you my positives first, Trevor, is the fact that we saw so many times in this game, Chiefs wide receivers were wide open. Kadarius Toney was open almost every single snap the man played.
Getting separation. Yeah.
Justin Ross, I was talking to Clay, our producer Clay Windler, before today's show. He's showing me videos that have been posted out there of Justin Ross just blowing wide open down the field. MVS breaks open on a cover 2. Patrick Mahomes puts the ball on the absolute dotted line. Perfect pass, great catch by MVS. We saw these guys getting open. Sky Moore created separation, even though he only got, 3 targets on 31 snaps.
Yeah, he didn't get enough.
There was a lot of separation out there. But you could tell there was a lack of trust in some of these wide receivers, and I don't blame Patrick Mahomes for those reasons. Now, ironically, Trevor, and another positive that I want to bring up is the fact that a guy that I am not big on at all this year, but moving forward I definitely will be because I'll build upon it, and I have reason to believe why. Rashee Rice showed that this guy is already further along in 1 week than Sky Moore was all last season. And I love Sky Moore. Trevor and I are big Sky Moore guys. But Rashee Rice did something in one game that Sky Moore didn't do all of last season until the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. And that's score a touchdown. To me, that is something you cannot ignore. And Rashee Rice looks like a guy that might be the exception to the rule. I know that I might be jumping a little too far ahead here, but he's producing.
It was terrible. It was terrible coverage.
It was terrible coverage. We got open.
The route he ran wasn't special. He just happened to be standing in the end zone wide open.
But Patrick Mahomes trusts him enough to throw in the end zone to get him the ball. And we know that Rashee Rice has had drop problems in preseason. Well, obviously, this wasn't something he was willing to take on in the red zone. He went and focused, got the ball, took care of business. I'm going to give him credit for that. Those are the positives. The negatives here, guys, that I have to bring up and I have to continue talking about are things that maybe get improved over these coming weeks when Travis Kelce returns, when these guys start to get more acclimated in the offense, is the fact that there was 5 drops on the field, guys. Patrick Mahomes completed 54% of his passes in this game. If you take away those 5 drops, Patrick Mahomes completes 14% more of his passes. Think about how insane that is for Patrick Mahomes. And the tip drill interception, like we talk about how that essentially cost the Chiefs the game. Even if that is still in play, and again, that shouldn't go against Patrick Mahomes because he couldn't have handed the ball better to Kadarius Toney than he threw it to him. Even if that still is in play, with 2 minutes left in the game, Kadarius Toney brings that ball in. The Chiefs are on the 30-yard line. They can run the clock down, and Harrison Butker can nail the game. The Chiefs win 23-21. Even with all these errors, even without Chris Jones, even without Travis Kelce on the field, the Chiefs lose a 1-point game.
A lot of suspect play calling as well.
And we can definitely talk about that as well because I don't know. Look, I have told you guys, and I've told you guys, and I will continue to tell you guys, I think Andy Reid will go down as the greatest head coach in the history of the NFL because I believe him and Patrick Mahomes are going to win several Super Bowls together. The weaknesses that Andy has are some of the coaches out there's best strengths, but he still has weaknesses. And one of the things that Andy Reid can't seem to get over for himself is overthinking things. Sometimes old school football works. You know, we talk about a pass-happy NFL. You know, it's quarterback-driven now. At the same time, though, having your big boys in the middle or in the front pushing and getting you 3 to 6 feet works. And if we are big fans of Isaiah Pacheco here, if we believe that Clyde can make some contributions here, if we believe the Chiefs have an elite offensive line like I believe, you need to trust those guys. You spend all this money on Jawan Taylor. You go and get Donovan Smith and say he's an upgrade. You establish the middle of your interior offensive line by spending record money on Joe Thuney. And then you go and take Creed Humphrey in the second round, and then you take a flyer on Trey Pancake Papa Smith, who ends up becoming a starter day one. Mm-hmm. If you entrust that much and invest that much into your offensive line, why in the hell are you not letting those guys do it?
Why are you not running enough?
And why is Blake Bell still running that same damn play? It worked 3 years ago. Yeah. It worked 2 years ago.
On the goal line, I don't mind it.
But the fact is, you have to be smarter than that. The rest of the league knows what's coming.
Yeah.
These jet sweeps to Kadarius Toney and Rashee Rice on big 3rd and 2s. The league knows that's coming because the Chiefs have been running it for 4 damn years.
Yeah, that was a McCole Hardman play. It was just going to Rashee Rice.
I don't want to be the guy that tells Andy Reid how to call a play here or Matt Nagy. These guys know this better than I could ever imagine. But the results are the results. And it wasn't just this last game. We've seen it several times over last season and the year before. Those plays have cost the Chiefs games. So, Trevor, you're 100% agree. I'm in 100% agreement with you. Although I believe the wide receivers are 100% the largest reason why the Chiefs lost this game, play calling did them no favors. Play calling did Patrick Mahomes no favors because even aside of these bad calls, there were times in the just regular parts of the game, parts that weren't as bad as and glaring as that or a drop. It felt like a lot of times they were just telling Patrick Mahomes, just go out there and be great. Just chuck the ball around. Just make something happen. I won't knock them for the 4th and 25 throw or the play, because they were going to be past the 2-minute warning regardless. So I get why they did it, because they don't have that extra timeout. Mm-hmm. So I get why you go for it. And the worst case scenario is you give up a touchdown and you try to still go out there and go for 2. If you score a touchdown with a minute remaining, and you have the quarterback that can make that happen, as we've seen many times before. But the point is, this game felt like the team overreacted and overthought everything on the offensive side. And they got in their own way, stepped on their own toes, shot their own foot. And that's the most frustrating part about this, Trevor, is this game should have been won 5-6 times over. Mm-hmm. And when you have a performance from your defense without their best player, without one of your 3 best players, where they give up one legitimate scoring drive because they had give up 3 touchdowns, but one of them was on a pick 6. Obviously, that's not on the defense, and the other one was on a fake punt. Teams. Yeah, threw off the defense. They stopped the Lions on their own 16-yard line. There was one legitimate scoring drive the Chiefs defense gave up without their best player. I am not going to put this on the defense. I saw Richard Sherman trying to say today on the volume yesterday that Chris Jones was clearly missed because the Chiefs only had 1 sack. Well, the Chiefs gave up as many legitimate scoring drives as they had sacks. So I can live with that. Do I like seeing the Chiefs get 3 to 5 sacks a game? Absolutely. But I would rather have them get 1 sack and give up 1 touchdown than get 5 sacks and give up 4 touchdowns. So I will live with the results as long as I know they're not giving up touchdowns. Yeah. And FAU, George Karlaftis, off the absolute snaps, man. They were up there like Juwan Taylor on the opposite end. As soon as that ball was snapped, they were popping back. They were popping forward. FAU was getting double teamed by one of the best offensive lines in football in his first NFL game. Like, there's some promise here on this defensive side, guys. Good. Like Chris Jones really needs to get his head out of his ass and accept the money the Chiefs are going to be paying him, because right now that contract would give him the most guaranteed dollars over a 2-year span at his position in NFL history, and he'd make over $27 million a year, over $27 million a year, and in new money, $54.5 million in new money. The Chiefs are offering that. Go, dude, with this defense, adding Chris Jones to it, this could be an elite defense in this league.
While he's choosing to miss game checks.
Be
more broke.
And we don't know if we'll talk to Shaggy about this, Trevor, whether Chris decides to play against Jacksonville this week. We'll see if he reports on Monday. We don't know what's going to happen. All I do know, man, is it was a bad look that Chris Jones was up there in the suite. I didn't like the way it looked. Everybody's like, well, he's showing support. He said 24 hours before the game he didn't want to be a distraction to the team. That's why he didn't hold in during training camp and preseason. Right. But then 24 hours later, you go to the game knowing NBC is going to show you 25 times during the broadcast. Bro, we know what you're doing. And I've been on Chris Jones' side this entire time, Trevor, but I have a real problem with him handling the way he's handling it now, because the Chiefs have made a legitimate offer. What was I saying at the beginning of this, Trevor? The Chiefs better not lowball him. Now that we know what the actual figure is and we know that it's more than fair, dude, you got to take the money, because you're not in a year from now at 30 years old at your position going to make more than that, especially now that you're sitting out games. If you played week 1 and balled out and the Chiefs won the game and you carry that through the season, you win another Super Bowl and you have another all-pro year, okay, maybe we can have that discussion about a team coming in at 30 years old saying, you know what, you might be 30, but you're still at the top of your game. We'll give you that $32 million a year deal. That's not happening now. That will not happen in Kansas City, and that's not going to happen elsewhere. You are screwing yourself now at this point. The team, I think, can overcome it for a portion of time, but if this is going into the playoffs and he's not playing, I don't think the Chiefs are going to win a Super Bowl without Chris Jones, because you're going to be matching up with the best of the best every single week as far as you go into the playoffs. You're going to need Chris Jones eventually. But for the first month, for the first 5-6 games, I do believe the Chiefs can handle it, because I think I have a defense that's capable of withstanding weeks on end during the regular season, especially when this offense starts to click. So, Trevor, my overall thoughts are this game was lost by the wide receivers, in particular Kadarius Toney. He's got to wear that. People are saying he wasn't healthy enough to play in this game. Then why in the hell was he out there in the first place? If you guys are, if people are trying to tell me, Trevor, that we have a plethora of wide receiver options that are legitimate, then Kadarius Toney didn't need to play in this game. If he wasn't healthy enough to play, and you're that deep at wide receiver, then why did Justin Ross get one damn target? Why did Rashee Rice, why did they go away from him when he scored a damn touchdown early in this game? Why? These are questions that are not being answered to me. If Kadarius Toney is going to be a wide receiver one, and you pass up on D-Hop because he's good enough to fill that void, and you don't need to bring back Juju Smith-Schuster, why is he out here dropping passes that are hitting him in the cuticles? These are questions, Trevor, this team has to answer to me. Am I overly worried about it, and I don't think this offense is going to start humming in no time? No, because Travis Kelce will be back. But as Von Booker told us just a couple of nights ago, Trevor, on Chatting Up the Chiefs, Von Booker to this day, when he had his hyperextension 20-some years ago, to this day, he says he still feels his. Now, everybody heals differently, to Von's point. But Travis Kelce's probably going to be banged up all year, and he's going to have to withstand that. Is that a normal occurrence for Travis Kelce? Yes. Man takes punishment, and he fights through things. We know last year in the AFC Championship, had back spasms, and still fought through and played well, and then helped this team win another Super Bowl. That is why I'm not worried overall with this offense. But my God, Trevor, we cannot expect Travis Kelce to carry this offense when it comes to receiving. These kids have to step it up, man. And if everybody's telling me these are the legitimate guys that the Chiefs are going to bank on this year, we cannot have another game like this, Trevor, because we talk about it's just week one. Do you guys understand how stacked the AFC is? It's as stacked as it has ever been. And you cannot afford to drop games like this at home on banner night against an inferior opponent that you are 4.5-point favorite over without Travis Kelce in the mix, without Chris Jones in the mix. You have to be able to go out there and win games like that, and you have to have these guys be reliable because all offseason you chose to take the road of, you know what, we're not going to go out there and get reliable guys. We're going to go out there and get a couple rookies. We're going to get a guy that's had a lot of injury problems, and we're going to get Kadarius Toney, and we're going to make this work. It didn't work. And Patrick Mahomes was putting the ball on the money all freaking night. He was magnificent in this game. His numbers won't show it, but this man was magnificent in this game, and these wide receivers let him down. So, Trevor, that's my thoughts. Give me your thoughts, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's very frustrating when you lose a game you feel you gave away. If the Chiefs' offense would have played worse, we would have won, right? If Patrick Mahomes would have been a little off target on that throw to Kadarius Toney, if the ball would have got batted away, at the line of scrimmage, throwing that ball to Kadarius Toney, we have a different outcome. You know what I mean? If we played slightly worse, we win this game, which is a strange thing to say, but it's true. Because we've heard the quote going around, or the statement going around, if Kadarius Toney just batted every ball down that came his way, we win this game. And it's true, because our defense played well enough, very good in my mind, for based off the circumstances. This to me. This game to me is causing so much of an overreaction. I'm not the overreactionary type. I still very much believe in Kadarius Toney. I think he's going to be an absolute weapon in this offense. I'm not jumping off a bridge right now like a lot of people are. Everyone's talking about trade this guy, trade that guy, these receivers, that. These guys are going to be one. You lose Travis Kelce days before the playbook, the plays and everything, the game script, everything you have is drawn up already. Everything's prepped. That's a last-minute thing for the main target of your offense is gone out of that, and who is the main central piece to that game script going into this game. You lose that last minute, that's a tough thing to overcome with, Kadarius Toney, who has yet to practice all year. Sky Moore, who's yet to prove himself, and I still believe he will. He looked good out there. He just wasn't getting the targets in my mind, and I'm not really sure why that is. He was creating separation. Go watch the film. He was creating separation. He had to drop himself. There was just way too many drops. And then he got guys, like you got Rashee Rice, who's a rookie. You got Justin Ross, who's yet to have any real action in the NFL. So you're depending on a lot of guys to make up for the absolute locked-in Hall of Fame duo between Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. And against a team that came in here very hungry, against a team that's coming in this year, something to prove, similar to, when we beat the Patriots on their banner night. We ran it up on them with a rookie running back in Kareem Hunt, who just absolutely ran amok on the Patriots, who was a legitimately good defense in their building. Things like this happen. I think this is a bad scenario, a bad timing for the Chiefs. I am not overreacting. I think this offense is going to be extremely potent. I think there's some really good after-the-catch guys in this team. I think Kadarius Toney looked good. He was getting separation. I mean, every time he dropped the ball, unfortunately, every time he did drop the ball, there was not a defender that can even smell him. You know, I mean, that means he was getting separation. And there was a lot of attention to slow down Sky Moore. They were really trying to press him and monitor him when they were playing the zone, not let him get anything over the middle and in the slot. And they took him out of the game a lot of times, but he was still getting open. There's just a lot of chemistry questions, sure, but I think it was mostly just execution and guys just not catching the ball. If we catch all the balls, this is a different outcome, I believe, and especially in that deep shot to Kadarius Toney where he had nothing but green behind him after he catches that ball. Obviously, if he doesn't tip the ball and they score a touchdown on that, this is a different game. So there's so many things I feel that we just gave this one away, and we didn't play a good game offensively. Honestly, Patrick looked sharp, like I talked about on our post game show. I thought that was the biggest bright spot. I thought Patrick looked good. There's nothing to hang your head on. There's nothing to hang your head as far as Patrick. I mean, Patrick did what he does. He was putting the ball in the money. Guys just weren't catching the ball. Kudos to Rashee Rice for getting that touchdown. I think he's going to grow as his season progresses. I think he's very good after the catch, but that's gonna be a very up and down situation. I think with him, I still believe in Sky Moore. It was a no show for him. Goose egg. That's not fun to see. The running game is very suspect still. I don't understand the imbalance of our offense here. If the guys are dropping passes, why are we not running some power O and trust this O-line that we've invested heavily in that love to run block and love to smash and pancake guys? Run the ball. I understand Pacheco probably isn't fully healthy. Clyde was getting to work, didn't really look that great either, if I'm being honest. Like, he looked okay.
Well, he didn't get in rhythm because of the fact that they played him early and then they just went away from him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm trying to understand like what we're trying. And then McKinnon barely played at all, who's maybe the deadliest weapon in our running back group.
I told you they're going to ease him into the season.
Yeah, but
just like they did last year.
If you got guys dropping balls, why don't you get some screen passes to him?
Oh, trust me, I agree with that.
I mean, that's one of the deadliest plays we probably have in our entire playbook is a screen play to McKinnon. We saw that last year.
And that's my point real quick, Trevor, not to interrupt you, but that's my whole point with this when it comes to game planning, because it's true. Not having Travis Kelce at all is going to hurt your offense, but especially when it's a late scratch, right? Mm-hmm. But my thing is there was no adjustment to it. When you don't have your best weapon, a guy especially like Travis Kelce, who's one of the smartest NFL players in the league, that knows how to find those open spots. Him and Patrick Mahomes have like this telepathy where they just know each other's minds, right? They have this established chemistry. When you don't have that, you need to create rhythm. And there was no rhythm in the offense the entire damn game. From the play calling, from the wide receivers. And this is what I was saying, Trevor, about.
I disagree.
Well, okay, but look at the way the game. Watch the game again. Watch how they call the game. There were so many times where Patrick had the ball in the pocket for 4 to 6 seconds.
Yeah.
And my thing is that works when you have Travis Kelce on the field because it's off schedule and he's going to go find those pockets, or a Tyreek Hill because those guys are that great. And Patrick has that kind of camaraderie with them. But when you have these young, unproven receivers that you're banking on to run this offense through, you have to have these on-schedule plays of two-step drop, bang, like they did with Justin Ross. His one reception was a quick pullback screen, and he caught it, got 7 yards out of it. Why didn't they do that more often to get these guys in rhythm? Because what is the number one thing for a young player at any position to have early on? Confidence, right? Confidence in their ability, confidence in this game to slow the game down a little bit for them to where they're not stressed out in their own head like Kadarius Toney clearly was, because every single one of the throws that Patrick threw him were downfield.
Yeah.
So get him in a quick screen pass. Get him in one of those things to get his confidence going.
It's like getting your layup drills before you start shooting jump shots. I get it. Yeah, I get that, but I don't even I think it was just more of an execution problem than it was a rhythm thing. I think this offense a lot of times is out of rhythm a lot of times, and we still manage to. When
you have Travis Kelce.
Sure. Yeah, then that's what I'm saying. The game script kind of went out the window, and I feel like they were kind of trying to create some leverage on the fly without that guy. I mean, listen, dude, we discussed this off the air. You take Justin Jefferson and the Vikings' best defensive player off 2 days before they go into a game. You take Cooper Kupp and name your best defensive player on the Rams, obviously outside of who. Aaron Donald, whoever you want to name. Take those guys out 2 days before you go into a game. Name any team, take their two best players on both sides of the field out, 2 days before a game. It's going to throw you off no matter who you are. It's a tough thing to overcome, man.
You're 100% right about that.
And the other guys you're depending on are either rookies, guys that have never seen real time in the NFL, and a guy that never practiced all offseason.
Sure.
That's tough.
That is all factual. But, Trevor, This game wasn't lost because Travis Kelce didn't play.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
This
It wasn't
game-
a rhythm thing for me. It was just execution.
Okay, so what
Drops.
I'm saying is, even with that, because we know, like when we talk about comparisons, about like those scenarios of Kirk Cousins without Justin Jefferson and his best defensive player like Harrison Smith or whoever it might be, or go down the line of any other quarterback duo, wide receiver duo,
Yeah.
it's gonna be much worse than it would be in
take
Kansas City.
CeeDee
'Cause why?
Lamb and yeah.
What I'm saying is, it's going to be much worse in those comparisons on their side than it is here in Kansas City because we have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid.
And that's why we still felt confident going into the game.
And that's why this game was so damn frustrating.
Sure.
Because even without Travis Kelce, this game should have been won by the Chiefs. Even without Chris Jones, should have been won by the Chiefs. That's why I said it comes down to rhythm, and it comes down to these receivers who everyone's been hyping up all offseason did not get the job done. I'm going to hold them to their expectation. This is what I've been... Remember, Trevor, when I said about Justin Ross all offseason about everyone's expecting a star. So I want to see a star. I don't want people to come at me and say, what I be talking about, bro, when it's been talked about on the national platforms from Nick Wright, Dan Orlovsky, every single guy out there has been saying, Justin Ross is that guy you need to watch out for. He got one catch.
Yeah.
So where are the Chiefs? What is the Chiefs' mentality by doing that? It'd be one thing if the running game was killing it. They had 47 rushing yards from everybody not named Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, we shouldn't be surprised that the Chiefs aren't going to run the
Trevor,
ball. I know we bring that up almost every week. Like, run the ball more. It's just not going to happen.
I'm saying if they were running the ball well in this
yeah.
game, I would understand why they went away from these young guys.
Sure.
My point, though, Trevor, you know who led the team in receptions this week?
MVS?
Isaiah Pacheco.
Oh,
he had
yeah.
4 receptions.
4 receptions, yeah.
That's a problem. That's a legitimate problem. Like, we got to talk about the rhythm of this game, Trevor. When you are seeing that your rookie receivers or young receivers who you're relying on because Travis Kelce is absent, you have to put these guys in a better position to succeed. Now, they were open on these plays they dropped the ball. That's why I said this game is mostly lost because of wide receiver play.
Right.
But you have, as a coach, you have to say, my guy is struggling. We're obviously going through Kadarius Toney tonight because he got the most targets of any receiver. We need to hone this in a little bit and get these guys in rhythm.
Yep.
They weren't doing that.
Well, I think we should take the optimistic approach here. And everyone's panicking and everyone's overreacting to this week 1 loss. And I get it. It sucks to lose. It sucks to have it. This is the first time we've had a losing record with Patrick Mahomes, and we're 0-1. I get it. Our first week 1 loss. I get it. It sucks, but that's the reality of the game, man. Sometimes things don't go your way. And I'm taking the positive approach, and I'm taking the moving forward approach, looking forward to the rest of the season. I'm taking this as a positive because we could not have played much worse. Our receivers, this is probably going to be the worst receiving performance we're going to have all year. And we still should have won. We didn't have Travis Kelce or Chris Jones. Our receivers played about as bad as you can. Kadarius Toney had the worst PFF rating ever, and we still should have won.
Yeah.
That's encouraging to me. I'm taking that approach. I'm not saying the sky is falling, no pun intended. I still believe in this young receiving core, just like I believed in the young corner core and the safeties and the young defensive players that we've added last year that came on late in the season. I believe that's going to be a similar way that this season's going to go. There's going to be some growing pains for these young guys. Some of these guys have never had real action. Sky Moore's got to take that next step or I'm over him. This is his year to do so. And I do believe once Kelce is back, that's going to help Sky a lot over the middle because there's going to be so much attention on Travis Kelce. That's going to open up the slot way more for Sky Moore. I do not think we see another performance like this from Kadarius Toney. It was a brain lapse, a guy that had not gotten real reps in all offseason. I still been much a believer, and those people that are hating on him right now, prepare to eat your words because he's going to have some massive games, and you're not going to know what to do with yourself.
Well, and I will say this, Trevor. To your point, I don't believe the sky's falling either. I picked this team to win the Super Bowl, and I'm
Yes.
sticking by that.
Right.
I do very much believe this Chiefs because I believe that Chris Jones is going to be back at some point. I believe Travis Kelce will be back probably as soon as this next week. And I believe this team's going to get on the right track and win games. My point, though, is that I'm going to hold this team to the standard of a Super Bowl team first, that it's unacceptable to lose games this way. I mean, you're going to lose games in the NFL. But at least let a team beat you, is what I'm saying. Don't beat yourself. The Chiefs beat themselves in this game. The Lions played fine. They didn't. I don't feel like the Lions had that good of a game. I felt like they played okay. Jared Goff was fine.
Yeah.
Like, Amon-Ra St. Brown came on. He was really good. I will give him
Early.
that. Jamar Gibbs looked good.
Early in the second half, Amon-Ra didn't do much.
Aiden Hutchinson looked good.
Yeah.
Like, they looked fine. But I don't feel like the Lions did enough to win a road game. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't do enough.
We lost situationally.
And so
we were the better team in my mind.
And
We
what
just lost
I'm saying
situationally.
though is when it comes to seeding, I'm already looking seed because remember Travis Kelce said last year, he goes like, I get bored sometimes in the regular season because I want the playoffs
Yeah.
because that's what this team's now become the new standard is set.
Yep.
That's what I'm doing. I'm looking at seeding, Trevor, and I look at this. The Chiefs have no real breaks for the first half of the season because the easiest teams they face, their next 9 games are this. I'll just list them off, and I'll talk about the easiest teams they face. The next 9 games, the Chiefs go to at Jacksonville Jaguars. They have the Bears at home, at Jets, at Vikings, Broncos at home, Chargers at home, Broncos at home, Broncos in Denver, Dolphins in Germany, and then the Eagles on Monday Night Football. None of those games are going to be easy for the Chiefs. And this is the game, and I'm not saying the Lions are some easy team. You and I both have them making the playoffs.
We might see that they're for real this year.
But of the first 10 games of their schedule, you could make the case the Lions are one of the easier teams they will face. And so the Broncos, I don't believe in them. I don't think the Bears are going to be that good of a team. But Justin Fields is an athletic specimen of a quarterback with even more skill now on the offensive side.
Yep.
A good, decent defense, I think, with Eberflus running things. And then you have the Broncos, who I think are going to suck this year, but for whatever damn reason, the Chiefs love to play close games with them. And then you have Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa with 2 awesome wide receivers, and then Jalen Hurts. Like, that's a lot, dude. So you can't afford to drop games like this. So I agree with you. Yeah. Sky's not falling. These guys will get better. Kadarius Toney more than likely will never have a game close to that again. But we can't sit here, Trevor, and go, well, you can't forget that he had that record-setting punt. Guys, punting and catching passes are 2 very different things. Ask Sky Moore. That's the thing that we have to remember here. So although he did benefit us in the Super Bowl with that incredible return, he put us up on put the Chiefs on the 5-yard line, set them up for success, caught the corn dog ball. Let's be real here, Trevor, because ironically it makes my point. We talk about Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney scoring touchdowns in the Super Bowl. Why did they? Was it because they had some incredible route tree? Was it because they ran down the field and burnt their defensive players? No, because Andy Reid drew up the perfect play.
Sure.
He set them up for success. And that is not what we saw in this game.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kadarius Toney is yet until this game, this past weekend, or this past Thursday, yet to have had a drop with the Chiefs so far. He scored his very first game.
Well, I think he had, 19 hits last year? I mean, that's...
And yet to have a drop. That's what I'm saying. Like, we need to take that sample size in comparison to one single game. He scored his very first game because Andy Reid knows his skill set. Andy Reid is going to put this guy in position to succeed this year, and he did this week. He just didn't catch the ball.
Can I ask you?
He could have scored a massive touchdown and had a couple really big plays. He just dropped. Right, sure.
This is the point I'm trying to ask, Trevor. Do you know what Kadarius Toney is?
Do I know what he is?
Yeah, as a football player. Do we really know what he is right now?
I'm not even sure.
All right, for instance, you know what Tyreek Hill is, right? A prolific, game-breaking talent that's done this. You can list off things that you've seen.
Well, he became that. Did we know what he was coming into the league?
No, but for the first year we saw it, like immediately. The first year,
as a receiver?
Yeah, he had over 600 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. Like Tyreek Hill, and he also had Alex Smith, not Patrick Mahomes.
He was 100% a gadget guy. He was running the ball in the backfield.
But he was wide receiver 1, is my point. And so what I'm saying is Tyreek Hill did blossom into what he is.
Sure.
But it didn't take 3-4 seasons. This is Kadarius Toney's 3rd season in the NFL.
But the context is completely different.
What I'm saying is,
I'm not calling Kadarius Toney Tyreek Hill.
No. I was making an analogy. When we talk about players in this league, by year 3, we usually know coaches. Most coaches only get like 3 years, and if they don't turn it around, they get fired.
Sure.
What can we honestly say right now that we know what Kadarius Toney is as a wide receiver in the NFL?
No, but that you can take the positive approach and be excited about what he could become still.
I like
he's still a very young man.
I'm very much into the positive approach, Trevor, but what I'm saying is when he's already missed 15 games in his career, and then he comes into this season supposed to be the guy at wide receiver. Everybody told you, remember, the receipts are there.
Yep.
Everybody told me, no, you don't need to go get D-Hop. You got Kadarius Toney. He's going to fill
I didn't
the
say
void.
that, but yeah.
I don't know. You and I are on the same page. I'm saying
yeah.
that people were telling us in the chat, on social media, everywhere.
Yeah.
We don't need to go get D-Hop. You don't need to spend the money. You got Kadarius Toney in-house. He comes in here week 1, has 3 huge drops. That, to me, is why I'm still holding my right to reserve my opinion on what he is as that guy. And obviously, I'm on the same page with you. I want him to be great.
Yeah.
You know how awesome it'd be if Kadarius Toney turns into the next Tyreek Hill or Tyler Lockett or some great receiver? Yes, I want that. But my problem is, Trevor, is I have trust issues. Because outside of Travis Kelce, this is what I was saying all offseason, outside of Travis Kelce, I can't pinpoint to any of these receivers, maybe outside of MVS, because we know what he is. He's just a boomer bust, deep route kind of guy. He's fun to have on your team. He stretches the field. But he's not a wide receiver 1. So where is, and this is why I told people the hierarchy does matter. That you can't just have a bunch of guys out there and say, well, we'll figure it out. No. Even though Patrick loves spreading the ball around, you still have to have established people. You still have to have guys with purpose. That every single week, Kadarius Toney's going to go out there and get you 6 catches for 80 yards. We don't know that though, and that's my problem, Travis. We're going into week 2 now with a big stretch coming up, and we don't know what's around Travis Kelce.
Listen, man, I think Kadarius Toney did establish himself as the wide receiver when he just dropped the balls. He was the targets. He dropped the ball when he was getting targeted. He should have had a massive game. And if he catches those balls, we're having a whole different conversation right now. This is the fact that he dropped them. We've seen Travis Kelce drop balls and meaningful balls in that game against LA a couple years back. We've seen Tyreek Hill have massive drops in games as well. We've seen this happen numerous times. Not comparing Kadarius Toney, what he is compared to what these guys are, but I think Kadarius Toney was being treated like the wide receiver when he just dropped the opportunities. If he catches those balls, we're having an entirely different conversation. He's caught more balls than he's dropped in his career so far. Well, I think we need to understand that he just had a bad performance and understand that. And yes, we need to pay attention moving forward what he can do and what if he can even stay healthy to put together a full season of catches. Sure. But I think we need to also understand that this was a terrible performance, not only by him, but the entire receiving core, if we're being honest, outside of Rashee Rice, who also had a drop, Sky Moore, who also had a drop. I think the tight ends were the most reliable receivers outside of Justin Watson and MVS, who had a couple catches apiece. This was just a bad performance overall. And I think pinning this on Kadarius Toney obviously makes sense because he's the one that led to a defensive touchdown. I get that. But we've had some issues with Tyreek Hill in the past, which led to some defensive touchdowns on some he didn't catch, should have. So I mean,
but I don't think we can adequately compare him to those guys when it comes to what he didn't do on the field or what he did do on the field in this game, costing the Chiefs. When those guys, like you brought up Travis Kelce dropping big passes, he did. Mm-hmm. But Travis Kelce, Trevor, makes up with it with all pro seasons.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying.
Tyreek Hill has done it for all pro seasons. Like we put up with it because he puts up 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns.
Right.
Kadarius Toney's never come close to that.
Sure.
So we have to be more critical on a guy like that who is yet to prove himself in this league. I shouldn't have been set you up like that. What I'm saying is, to me, I feel like it's a rhetorical question because we don't know what Kadarius Toney is yet. Mm. You can believe he's a wide receiver one, Trevor. He has not done anything close.
I'm saying he was being treated. You're saying
he's being treated less.
That's as the wide receiver one. He was getting those wide receiver run routes and targets, and he was looking downfield.
But that adds to my concerns that I've been saying all along, Trevor, that maybe these other guys aren't as good as some people are suggesting, because if these guys are that good, why is Patrick Mahomes keep going to a guy that's continuously dropping the ball? Because he obviously thinks this is my best option. Even though he's not a good option tonight, I can't trust these other guys are going to make the plays.
Well, that's when the game script comes into my mind, because a lot of those guys don't maybe know those plays, don't have that chemistry with Pat yet. A lot of those guys are new, man.
But think about how wild that is.
Think about it. Kadarius Toney's outside of Sky Moore had the most time with Pat.
But think about how wild that is, though.
And Justin Watson, obviously.
Justin Ross was out there in Mahomes camp back in April. Mm-hmm. Right? Sky Moore back in April. These guys have been practicing with Patrick Mahomes 5-6 months.
Yeah, but
to not have that camaraderie. Sky Moore, that was his 21st game.
You can talk about practicing with Patrick all you want, man, but that's not the game plan. Andy Reid and Nagy draw up a game plan for specific players that those other players may not know those routes. They may not know the timing. The timing could be off, and that could have led to more turnovers. Right? The only reason that we had a turnover that a play led to a turnover was because Kadarius Toney just did not catch the ball, but it was a good play. It just turned the other way.
I brought this up. I brought the poll up on our Twitter page this week about how many more games like this from the wide receiver room will the Chiefs have before you get nervous or worried about the wide receiver room?
Yeah, this becomes a trend. But yeah, we have a massive issue.
500 votes. I'll pull it up.
They went negative, of course.
Well, honestly, a lot of people have come at me about how I'm being negative, and they think it's going to be fine. So it's actually on the opposite. They're actually more on your side, Trevor, about like, no, they'll be good. I'll find the poll real quick because we posted.
I mean, as they should be. We have a sample.
I said this was the poll. How many games like Week 1 from the Chiefs wide receivers do you need to see before you're officially worried? 505 votes. 49% said one more. So this is telling me that Chiefs fans, even though they want to believe, and Trevor, you and I, man, we said 34 points. We both scored. We had exactly 34 points. We didn't know that, by the way. Yeah. I already had my score. You already had yours.
Yeah.
We both had the Chiefs scoring 34 points in this game. And you're right. If Kadarius Toney catches those balls, they do score these points. Mm-hmm. If. But that's my problem, Trevor, is that Kadarius Toney's entire career to this point is an if. If he was healthy. If he was on the field, if he had Patrick Mahomes in his first season. But these are all things that we're looking at going, okay, when are you changing the ifs to I am? That's what I want to see, because I think he had a great opportunity in this week 1 game where if he'd have caught these passes, we're sitting there going, hey, Trev, I think Kadarius Toney's he's officially establishing himself. And I'd be sitting here with that tune. But I can't give him that credit yet, Trevor, unless he does it himself. And that's why I think a lot of Chiefs fans, they're being honest in these polls by saying, if we have one more game like this, we're in full panic mode. So I get what you're saying about, people shouldn't be freaking out and asking for a Mike Evans trade, because quite frankly, the Chiefs can't even afford to do that until they get the Chris Jones extension done.
Aging receiver.
But this is what I told people when Trevor, our guy Braden Turner, who I love very much, over at KCSN, when he was saying what he said to me on Twitter a couple months ago about, well, Lance, look at this wide receiver core did, man, in that Bengals game. You were down, Juju Smith-Schuster and Kadarius Toney went down, and Marcus Kemp's out there catching a pass and things like that. This is going to be fine if we have a wide receiver room that's made of these guys. I hate when we play revisionist history, though, because I felt like that was kind of a dishonest take, because that game was not won by the offense. They scored 23 points in that game. Mm-hmm. Okay, Patrick Mahomes was awesome. He had one damn leg, and he had a bunch of receivers out, so I get it. But he had Travis Kelce on the field, and a good enough offensive line to make the game worth, to score plenty of points. They scored 23. That game was won by Chris Jones in the defense. Chris Jones had his best playoff game of his career, and he went off there and dominated Joe Burrow. They sacked Joe Burrow 3 times in the first 5 offensive plays for the Bengals. They established that game. They finished that game. So we can't sit here and say, oh, this is going to be fine because they beat the Bengals. No, they beat the Bengals because the defense showed up and showed out. And Patrick Mahomes made just one more play than Joe Burrow did. Mm-hmm. Joe Burrow threw 2 horrific interceptions when Patrick Mahomes is out there throwing absolute dimes to MVS in the end zone. So that's the difference. If we're willing to play that kind of game, then the Chiefs are going to be a team that's going to score, 24 a game. And the defense better show up every single night if they want to get a 1, 2, or 3 seed in the AFC. But I'm not willing to do that because I think this offense should be much better than that. Yeah. And they had opportunities to advance this offense this offseason. They didn't do it. So these guys better improve quickly, Trevor, because although they're young, I'm sick of the excuses. I'm done with the excuses. They need to show up immediately. Week 2, ball out. Patrick Mahomes is going to give you the ball. You're going to get plenty of opportunities. You're going to be open. Patrick Mahomes is going to throw you open. Andy Reid's going to scheme you open. You better catch the damn passes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a person that likes to go off of samples. We've had a massive sample size of Patrick Mahomes and know that this game was an absolute outlier. We've had massive samples of Andy Reid drawing up good game plans and Nagy having good play calling skills, getting the ball, and obviously not having 5+ drops in a game is an outlier to me. That's an outlier game. It came at a poor time. A lot of distractions going on for the Chiefs right now. There's a lot of things not working in our favor, and obviously having drops on top of all of that is just that's a tough thing to overcome. And I'm gonna say this: I think Kadarius Toney has actually really good hands. I think Kadarius Toney is going to show and shut everyone's mouths out of this week. I think moving forward in this season, everyone's gonna change their tune. My guy Kadarius Toney, I really do believe he's a great fit for this offense. I do think he has the trust of Patrick Mahomes. This is an outlier game from him. And I think it starts next week. I think Kadarius Toney is a very skilled player. And as long as he stays healthy, he is going to play that wide receiver 1 role. He's going to be that guy that's going to make the big plays. And everyone's going to change their whole tune on the Kadarius Toney hate. And I get it. It's warranted right now. He was an absolute problem in this game. And not in a good way. So I get it. I am a believer in this offense, and I believe we will figure it out. I think Andy Reid is the smartest, wisest offensive guru we've seen in this league ever, and I think he's going to play to the skill sets of these guys. And we will see more of Justin Ross. We'll see more of these guys start to ease in. Even Brett Veach called these guys package players, Rashee Rice and Justin Ross. Those guys will start getting more and more involved, I believe, especially if Sky Moore continues to be a no-show. It's a strange game.
Are you still betting on Sky Moore being a 1,000-yard receiver?
I mean, I have to stick to that.
Yeah.
That's what I. I
mean, it's okay to change. I didn't know if that.
Well, like I said,
still on that.
Like I said, I think barring health, Kadarius Toney will be the most productive receiver on this offense, as far as scoring and big playability and being that guy. But I think overall volume and catches and overall receiving yards, I think Sky Moore should be that guy.
Yeah.
Especially when Travis Kelce is back and that opens up the middle for him. I think he's going to eat over the middle. I think he's going to be that possessions receiver that's going to move the chains and just accumulate a lot of yards and receptions over the year. That's why I liked him just by the numbers. But Kadarius Toney to me is a playmaker. He is that McCole Hardman, Tyreek Hill position. He's in that position now. Yeah. He's going to get fed like that, I think. So unless Rashee Rice just overshadows him and becomes, I think he has a little more pep to his step, and he's a little faster than Kadarius Toney. He might be a little bit better after the catch. But people, I'm telling you right now, Kadarius Toney is very skilled. He's very crafty. He's very good at creating separation. He is a good catcher of the football. Don't let this game confuse you. This is a terrible spot for him. No practice, no real reps. This is just an outlier game in my mind. I'm just going to say it moving forward.
I agree that not playing in preseason training camp and all that stuff does work when it comes to, in my opinion, the opposite.
There's no excuse.
Well, I think it's
not an excuse.
I think it's the opposite of what actually happened, though. Real quick, not to keep firing back, but if he would have looked slow or sluggish, or he couldn't get out of his, he couldn't create separation, I'm like, well, that's the definition of not playing in preseason. But he was creating space.
He was getting wide open.
It was his hands.
Yeah, I know.
Like, for me, bro, I saw our guy Britt Chief say something hilarious on Twitter this week about it. He goes, Kadarius Toney not catching in a game is like me not learning how to, or like not knowing how to walk. Like, it should be the most common thing for a wide receiver to do, is be able to catch a pass that hits you right in the damn hands in stride. Like, it could not have been a more perfect pass. Yeah. And it's ironic, too, because the other passes that weren't as perfect that he dropped were the ones that didn't result in a pick six. It was the most perfect pass he dropped, and it resulted in a pick six. Now, if it didn't result in a pick six, are we still crushing him as heavily? No. But, Trevor, to that point, we, in 2021, I will say, I will speak for myself. I don't want to speak for everybody else. I was crushing Tyreek Hill for those drops.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill,
there was some
the top 5 receiver. Mm-hmm. He had already established himself as an elite weapon, and I was crushing him. So all the more reason for me to feel this much, I'm going to just say it, vitriol towards a guy that has not proven himself, and everybody keeps telling me what he is. Like, I need to see it. Did I see special in the Jacksonville Jaguars game last year when he did the gloves thing? Yes. But ironically, he missed 7 games after that. Sure. And then he makes a special play in the Super Bowl. But it wasn't even an offensive play. It was a punt return. And it was great, but that's not what he is for this team. We need to see wide receiver 1 shit. Otherwise, he's just a hopeful. He's just a what if. I need to see it, and I want to see it. I am rooting for the kid. I'm rooting for all 7 of these receivers. But the fact that the Chiefs activated all 7 receivers tells me that they are still very much trying to figure out who is and who isn't.
I think they activated all 7 receivers because Travis Kelce was not in the game.
No, they activated Bushman because Kelce wasn't in the game. They didn't activate all 7 receivers because Travis wasn't in the game.
So that tells you that they would have the same amount of tight ends because they activated Bushman. If Travis Kelce was in Bushman's place, they would still have all 7 receivers.
If Travis Kelce plays in the game, I don't think they activated all 7 receivers. I'm gonna be real with you. I know this sounds crazy, but I've seen other people that I very much trust say the same things, and I'll get their names to verify this. A lot of folks believe that if Travis Kelce never would have had the hyperextension, if let's say he had a healthy practice, he was good all week, some people thought Kadarius Toney wouldn't have played in this game. They would have inactivated him. Because of the fact that
he was off the injury report.
I know he was off the injury report, but people said that they were still going to work him into the season or have a package. The point I'm trying to make is it clearly showed that Kadarius Toney wasn't ready, but I don't think it was for the reasons we assume. It wasn't because he was out all preseason. It wasn't because he was out all training camp. It's because of the fact there's all this pressure and expectation on him, and he clearly wasn't ready to take that on without Travis Kelce on the field. Because we know with Travis
trash take.
Oh, hold on. With Travis Kelce on the field, we know the focus isn't on Kadarius Toney. It isn't on anybody else. So the pressure isn't on him to produce at a high level. We know this. He's not the established guy. But when Travis Kelce's off the field, who are we looking to?
The man was returning punts and scoring touchdowns in the Super Bowl. We're past that point. We're past that point. But being ready for week 1, not being mentally ready for week 1 as a number 1 target.
You're telling me there was more pressure on Kadarius Toney in the Super Bowl than
No, I'm saying you kind of get that out of your system when you go win a Super Bowl and you score a touchdown
Obviously
and have
not.
the longest punt return.
Okay, so why did he drop those passes?
That you think that's just because of pressure?
Yes.
I think it's just because of rust.
He was physically ready for the game. He was open all night.
I just think it was rust. I think it was a lapse. It wasn't just him.
You just agreed with me that
it wasn't just him that was dropping passes.
But you just agreed with me that catching passes is like the most common thing a receiver
So
should
is
do.
everyone else? Is that the same reason everyone else was dropping passes?
Okay, who's more rusty going into this game, Justin Ross or Kadarius Toney?
Kadarius Toney. He didn't practice all offseason.
Trevor, that was Justin Ross' first NFL game.
He was practicing all offseason. Kadarius Toney did not practice all offseason and played 0 preseason games.
You're going to tell me right now when Kadarius Toney was out there healing his meniscus, he wasn't catching passes? You don't think
he wasn't running routes?
Okay, but your hands still got to be reliable,
but
man.
timing with your body and catching the ball is an entirely different thing when you're running routes and catching balls.
What I'm saying, Trevor, is that I do believe it was the pressure because of the fact that Travis Kelce wasn't on the field.
I mean, how do you prove that?
Well, I'll prove it. Patrick Mahomes kept throwing them the ball.
Everyone was dropping balls.
Trevor, the expectation was on Kadarius. You just started your take by saying if Kadarius Toney catches these passes, he takes it to the house. If Kadarius Toney's doing this, we win the game. We established this, which means the pressure was on Kadarius Toney to perform. And he didn't.
And he was
it was drop passes. To me, that is pressure getting to the young guy.
But it's an outlier for him. If he couldn't deal with pressure, he would have dropped that ball when he was wide open. It was too good to be true when he scored in that Super Bowl.
There has never been a game in Kadarius Toney's NFL career that had more pressure on him than this game. Okay. And coincidentally,
not starting the Super Bowl. Okay.
And Trevor, he was in that game. Who had go down
returning punts in the Super Bowl is less pressure than week one.
That's not. Come on. Let's be real, dude. That was an out. You want to talk about an outlier? That's an outlier play.
Okay.
It is, Trevor. It's the longest punt in NFL history.
And there's no pressure on returning a punt in the Super Bowl.
I'm not saying there's
when the game is tied.
Trevor, what I'm saying is that game was not won because of that play.
It very well could have been. We were tied.
Trevor, what I'm saying is that Kadarius Toney isn't on this team to return punts. So the pressure wasn't on him to make that play. No one expected that to happen. You know what people were expecting? Him to catch passes in week one. That's my point. Is that the pressure?
I'm sorry, dude. I'm never going to agree with you. Trevor, there's more pressure in week one than the Super Bowl when he scored a touchdown, had the longest punt return in NFL history, in Super Bowl history.
Forget the game.
There's way more pressure in that scenario, bro.
No, and he did not have more pressure in the Super Bowl than he did in this game because
we're just not going to agree on that, bro. I'm sorry.
Was he the third or what option in the pass game was he in the Super Bowl?
When you're standing back there, you're the only guy standing back there for a punt return in the Super Bowl.
Who in the Super Bowl? Who was Patrick Mahomes' number one options? Like, go down the list. Who's number one, number two, number three, number four? Go down.
What does that have to do with him scoring?
I'm talking about the pressure. Who had more pressure in the game in the Super Bowl? Travis Kelce or Kadarius Toney?
Okay, when you go into the huddle, and you know the play is coming to you in the red zone in the Super Bowl,
Trevor,
you know you're going to get the ball.
Who had more pressure in the game? Travis Kelce or Kadarius Toney?
Travis Kelce?
Who had more pressure on them to perform at a high level? Juju Smith-Schuster or Kadarius Toney?
Lance, I get that, but we're comparing a week one game. I know you're talking about Travis Kelce being out of the game.
I'm individualizing it, dude. I don't care about the game. I'm talking about in the context of the player.
Okay.
What game did Kadarius Toney have more pressure on him to perform at a high level? Was it the Super Bowl or in this game?
In the Super Bowl, when you have a play drawn up for you to go catch the ball and score a touchdown in the Super Bowl to most likely win the game.
It was a 2-yard pass, Trev. Okay. You and I could have caught that pass.
So we're talking about yardage?
No, Trev. I'm saying that was...
He scored a touchdown.
You want to talk about layups? That was a layup. Okay. I'm saying that in this game against the Lions, the number one receiver for the Chiefs was who?
I get that, Lance, but we're comparing week one to him scoring in the Super Bowl.
No, Trev, you keep bringing up the game versus the game. I'm talking about what Kadarius Toney meant to the team in one game and what he meant to the team in another game. Clearly, there was more pressure on him. Would you agree with me on this, Trevor? There was more expectation for Kadarius Toney to perform at a high level in this game against the Lions than in the Super Bowl, based upon the availability of Travis Kelce and no Juju Smith-Schuster. You would agree with that, right?
I would say there's more expectations, sure, in the week one of him being number one. But again, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he's had zero offseason to really get real work in. There's rust there. But I'm saying as far as pressure, one man standing back in the other side of the field receiving a punt return to set up the best punt return in Super Bowl history. One man, there's so many mistakes that can happen. As far as pressure, the whole world is watching the Super Bowl, the most watched Super Bowl in NFL history. Kadarius Toney has the longest punt return in football in NFL history in the Super Bowl. There's a lot of pressure on that one guy being the one-man show on that play,
Trevor,
and then scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl as well. If Kadarius Toney would have fair
caught that ball, do you still believe that Patrick Mahomes would have drove us down the field?
If he would have caught the balls in this recent game, do you think we'd be talking about Kadarius Toney?
No. Yeah, we would. We'd be praising him.
Exactly, that's my point.
No, you're making my point, Trevor. Is that he would have taken on the pressure of what he was supposed to be in week one and performed at a high level. But because he didn't, I have to sit here and go, it was clearly a mental block that he didn't take it on. Trevor, again, if he was rusty, he would have shown that he couldn't create separation.
He impacted immediately, was an impact player when he first came to the Chiefs. No issues.
Did he suffer a hand injury or a meniscus tear in training camp?
So answer me this. Does he not have more of a sample size of being a productive weapon for this Chiefs offense than he has not?
Trevor, he has not been a productive weapon in this offense.
But when he's been on the field for the Chiefs, He's been more unproductive than productive?
No. He hasn't been productive enough for me to call him a productive player.
In comparison to his unproductivity and his productivity.
Okay,
He's far more been productive than unproductive.
I'll give you a slight edge that he has, 21 career
He
touchdowns.
scored in his very first game. We had a package ready when he scored in his very he should have scored another one that got called back on a bad call.
This is still deflecting from the point I'm making, though, the fact that Trevor, he is a complementary piece in this offense with Travis Kelce.
It's not that simple, though, bro. The pressure has been out the window when he's already been a significant piece. As soon as he put on our jersey, he's been productive for this offense. When healthy, when on the field. This is his first time he showed he's not. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that this is the outlier, not his production was positive, not him scoring the Super Bowl, not him scoring should have been multiple touchdowns in his first couple of games with us. I'm giving him that benefit of the doubt rather than saying this was too much pressure for him all of a sudden in week 1 against the Lions. I don't agree with that.
I agree. This game could very much be an outlier based upon what we expect from him. My point, though, is the context of what he was in this game as opposed to what he was in the Super Bowl. He was a complementary piece to this offense in the Super Bowl, whereas he was the bell cow in the passing game in this game against the Lions. And when he coincidentally has 3 drops in the game where the first time in his entire career is expected to be the guy, okay, that makes me think, okay, the pressure got to him. And there's nothing wrong with that, Trevor, because we've seen guys of the past.
So you think it was more about pressure with those drops than rust?
100%.
Than rhythm, than timing, than all the physicalities that go into the game to get you ready for a game.
100% because of the fact that, again, rust for a guy that was out because of a leg injury should not result in drop passes that are hitting him in the hands. Because we both just agreed 10 minutes ago that catching passes that are hitting you in the hands is not a rust thing when you suffered a leg injury. It wasn't a hand injury. It wasn't like the man broke his fingers.
You're undermining what goes into football and preparation for your body, dude.
No, I'm not.
When you're not running routes and you're not getting timing down, your body's not there yet.
I'm contextualizing.
That's rust.
Okay, what I'm saying is a guy in a wheelchair can catch passes.
Oh boy.
If a guy,
we got our guy here.
Good. I'm glad Shaggy's here because he can separate the two and give us the final vote because we're stoked about this, man, because we haven't had this guy on in quite a while actually. We're really excited about this because he was actually at the game with our producer Clay. He had an up-close look at what took place. Trevor and I have been spending the last hour giving our back and forths on what we saw in this game, how the game ended up going. And we're, like I said, man, I think that there's a lot to take from it from both sides. Give credit to the Lions. I know that Clay and Shane said that the Lions fans were awesome, that they had a great time talking to these people. And I think that this is something that we have to really – I think when it comes to the matchup and what took place, we have to be worried a little bit, but that's my side. Trevor's taking more of a positive side. I can't wait to hear from him. Let's give it up for our guy, Mr. Shaggy Shane. Oh, yeah!
What is going on, fellas? It feels so good to be alive on a Saturday. September 9th, the 2023 season has just begun, and I'm taking this football. I'm going to throw it to Kadarius and see if he catches it. Here you go. He dropped it again. Man, it was perfect. I've hit him right in the back. All right. We're here. We're live, and we're feeling good. You guys are in an instant freaking killer debate. And if I could just jump right into this debate that you guys were going on about, I'm going to do it right now. And that is my take on this whole Kadarius Toney situation is he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready for that game. He didn't have training camp. He didn't have preseason, which I know you hate, Lance, and this year I didn't like it either. But he did not have the reps to go into week 1 as your starter. Kadarius Toney was limited all week in practice. Until the very last practice, he had a full participant. And even the media, they were kind of skeptical. They were kind of like, they would go to Andy Reid. They would go to Matt Nagy during the press conferences throughout last week and say, are you sure Kadarius Toney is ready for this game? And they'd be like, oh, man, yeah, he's done everything that we needed him to do. And the media and everybody on Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, or wherever they get their Chiefs information were like, I don't know, man. I don't know if Kadarius Toney is ready for this, man. He just had knee surgery, August 3rd, August 4th, and now September 7th. He's the go-to guy that's out on the field dropping all these passes. And Sky Morris just jumped in and said, hey, Kadarius, hold my beer. I'm going to drop a couple of key important ones myself. So Kadarius definitely hurt his situation. Sky Moore needed a step up, but specifically to Kadarius, I was like Lance, you and I and Clay were talking in Chiefs Migos. I kept saying all week, I think it's a smokescreen. I don't think Kadarius Toney's going to be ready to play. He's had no reps. He had no business being out on the field, and it showed. And now specifically to Kadarius Toney being the number one wide receiver for the Chiefs, I don't think he has the mental makeup to be a number one wide receiver. He's too much of a hothead. You can't go off on Twitter and sending people private messages calling them F-bombs and mother effers and all this. If you're a true number one wide receiver of a National Football League team, of a championship team, you cannot reply to individuals on Twitter privately with hate.
Expletives.
Even though, yes, thank you. I need that. I need expletives. I need expletives from Trevor. Thank you. But you cannot be that. That doesn't show mental makeup. Mental makeup of a number one wide receiver of an NFL team is going to behave in that manner. It just doesn't show it. Do I like Kadarius? Yes, I love Kadarius. I love Kadarius Toney for everything he has delivered for this team in the Super Bowl. He has potential, but he is not the number one NFL wide receiver, and I don't think he should have been active last week.
Well, and Shane, I'm glad you brought this up because I'm not going to rehash what I was just saying with Trev about the reason why I think the biggest reason why he failed in this game was because of the mental side of things. This is actually something I was saying back when we heard the news that Kadarius Toney was trading barbs with Giants fans and his DMs on Twitter. I said these exact words. I said, this makes me worried now because I was already worried about his physical ability to stay on the field because he's missed 15 games in just 2 seasons in 1 game now. But it's also now the fact, like you said, he's giving in to these people that are just a bunch of nobodies. You should be able to ignore these folks, man. They should be nobodies to you. You should not have to worry about that and just go out there and play your game, just win in silence, succeed in silence, as a lot of people say. And he didn't do that. It got so bad, he had to delete his Instagram. He had to delete his Twitter. He had to delete all social medias to avoid all of that. And that's a good thing he did that. It shows maturity. But that was a concern of mine. I got destroyed for that from a lot of my peers and colleagues in the Chiefs community saying that should have no barring, it should have no relevance into what he is as a wide receiver one. I think it has everything to do with it because, again, even if it was a leg injury that was causing him ultimate strife in this game, it showed me that his mind was on other things other than honing in and catching that football, because when a football player is focused, more times than not, they're going to succeed and do the right thing and get the job done. And to me, Kadarius Toney did not look focused. He did not look ready for the moment, and that's why I stood on that. But see, Shane, I want to talk about a couple of these other wide receivers before we move on to other aspects of this game. I was telling Trevor that the wide receiver room is what lost this game for the Chiefs, in particular Kadarius Toney, not to pile on, but that just is the truth. What I also didn't like was the game plan. Now, obviously, we talk about the cute plays that Andy just refuses to move off of with the Blake Bell sneak, the reversals to Rashee Rice and to Kadarius Toney that everyone saw coming from a mile away that he's been using for damn near 5 years now. But it's also the fact that he did not get his young receivers in rhythm. I don't like the fact that he waited till the 4th quarter to get Justin Ross a single look in the offense when everybody's been hyping Justin Ross up, and you are the OG godfather of the Justin Ross fan club. He got one pass, but ironically, the pass he got was the pass I wanted everybody to be getting all night, which these quick 2-step drops, get the ball out, let Patrick Mahomes get these guys a rhythm, because the biggest thing when it comes to young players, in particular skill position players, is getting them their confidence. And that is not something I felt Andy Reid and Matt Nagy did. I understand the game plan goes out the window without Travis Kelce on the field, but if you're relying on young assets to run your offense through, and you're not running the ball clearly because Patrick Mahomes led the team in rushing again, then you're going to have to get these young dudes in rhythm, and they did not do that. It just felt like they had Patrick just going out there, hey, be great, chuck the ball around so you can catch a pass. And that's a problem to me when you don't have Travis Kelce on the field, man.
There was definitely you could see that there was influx, which was odd because they were able to look good last year without Tyreek Hill. Travis Kelce getting hurt so late in the practice definitely threw everything off. But what I was uncomfortable with, and you brought that up, Lance, thank you, is that Justin Ross was only in 5-6 snaps, if that, and 3 were runs. Another one was a dump off to Pacheco, and he caught the only target. I don't know if Matt Nagy, this is as long as the Chiefs struggle, regardless if it's 5 drops, 3 by Kadarius and 2 by Sky Moore, it's going to fall at the feet of Matt Nagy for keeping Kadarius Toney out there. Kadarius Toney dropped those balls, in my opinion, because he kept being put in position to go catch it. he kept being put in position to go catch it. And I kept thinking after the second drop, well, he's not going to see the field again. Well, he was out there and he dropped a big down. So that lies at the feet of Matt Nagy. You know, I hope Matt Nagy gets trust and Andy Reid gets trust in Justin Ross and lets him play more than 5 or 6 snaps tops. But it's definitely a concern. You got 7 wide receivers, and the number from I haven't even watched the replay, man. I usually get them from the games and I watch the replay of what I missed. I just haven't yet. But from what I remember from sitting in the seats, I think Justin Watson was the number 1 wide receiver because he was on the field more than anybody. Justin Watson, I was watching Justin Ross because I was on the sidelines watching him, you know, since I created the fan page for him. I want to see where he is. And Justin Ross was on the sideline standing next to Matt Nagy all game. But Justin Watson seemed to be the guy, the number 1 wide receiver, just from a fan's point of view. Keep in mind, I'm 3 rows on the upper deck looking down at the Chiefs sidelines. And do you have the snap count of what the wide receivers had, Trevor?
Well, I know Scott Moore led in as far as snaps. He was out there for like 89, almost 90% of the snaps.
Okay.
So Scott Moore was the most played the most snaps, but Justin Watson was definitely up there. And MVS, I think, was second.
If I'm not mistaken, Sky Moore, I think, had 31 snaps.
He was out
3
there.
Targets.
Yeah.
So definitely, and specifically to the play calling, when the Chiefs were up 17-14, or I think it was 17-14, late in the third quarter, when Patrick Mahomes ran it for 9 yards and it was 2nd and 1 at the 17, Clay turned to me. He said, "This is going to be a sweep to Kadarius Toney. I guarantee it. And he's going to take it to the end zone, and he's going to get those people, the fans, up off his back because he had 2 drops. He's going to take this." And lo and behold, it was a sweep to Kadarius Toney, just like Clay called, but he lost 4 yards. So then you're thinking, wow, man, if Clay knew that was going to be the play call, you know that the Detroit Lions defense had the play call. And as for the Blake Bell call later on, it's ironic, and I touched about this on Arrowhead Allies a couple weeks ago, that the Chiefs, Andy Reid, for being the innovator he is, does not have a 3rd and 1 or 2nd and 1 play call. He just doesn't. I don't know if he just shouldn't think. I think he should think it's 2nd and 3rd and 1. He should think it's 2nd and 12, because there's just nothing. It doesn't matter. You can line up 3 tight ends and a tackle eligible, and he just doesn't have it, and that's a shock. Because Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey are the big guys. You got to be a man. You got to be able to freaking deliver. Hand off to whoever the up back is. If you got Pacheco as the fullback, since you don't have a fullback on your team, pull it over the middle. You don't need Blake Bell. When they see Blake Bell in motion, everybody around the world, not just the Detroit Lions, they know he's going to get this center and he's going to do something with it. They try to sweep to Rashee Rice. The Lions freaking nailed it because it's so predictable. It's so predictable. Andy Reid has got to do better on those short freaking plays.
Well, and let me say this real quick, Shane, and I haven't even brought this up to Trevor or anybody else. It just kind of came to me right now. You know, something that we had heard all offseason, and then we saw in franchise, we've seen in other videos, is, you know, Patrick talking about, you remember the snow globe play, some of these other things. These are all creations of Patrick Mahomes in the offense when they're practicing. They're kind of just tinkering things. And Travis Kelce talked about how, we bring up a lot of plays to Andy, and he even has that that whiteboard. He calls it the beautiful mind board, where he lets all coaches go up there and draw plays, and he takes a picture of it, and then he takes certain things from it. He's a very open-minded coach, and that's what I love about Andy is he's always willing to stay up to date. He's not like Bill Belichick where he just sticks his feet in the sand. I'm going to play like it's 1992. No, he is willing to move on with the times, and that's why Andy Reid is still so successful where Belichick's going the other way. But the thing that what confuses me is I have to think that Patrick Mahomes being the obsessive football player that he is, Travis Kelce being the guy that he is with the high octane the brain power that he is as well, the brain trust that they have running this offense, why don't they allow these guys to maybe draw up some of these plays to get a little more creative? Or, wild thought here, Shaggy, because you've watched football longer than I have, and you remember how it used to play 20, 30 years ago, why don't you just go with the classics and just have a guy run right up the damn gut and get 3 feet, get 6 feet? If you've invested this much in your offensive line, let these big boys play big boy football and get you 4 to 6 feet, man. I just don't understand why Andy decides to go with these cute, gimmicky plays when, 1, they continuously don't work, and 2, there are other options out there that have been working for 3-4 decades.
I agree 110%. I mean, I know they don't have a fullback, but they could line up Blake Bell as a fullback and just get that extra yard. And I think Patrick Mahomes, it was a fluke when he got hurt against Denver. if Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, and all these other quarterbacks can pick up a yard on a consistent basis, not just like, well, every once in a while, Jalen Hurts can pick up that inch. No, they get it every freaking time. It just sucks that they don't run up the middle on 3rd and inches. It's almost embarrassing. If we weren't the world champions, dynasty in motion, it would be embarrassing how the Chiefs are on 3rd and 1, because we all say to each other, there's a nervousness at Arrowhead, like, oh my God, it's 3rd and 1. Oh man, all they need is a half a yard. Oh shoot. And it's not even about Patrick Mahomes being hurt. They're not afraid of Patrick Mahomes diving. I think Arrowhead would stand up in unison and give a standing ovation if Patrick Mahomes would take the snap and pull over Creed Humphrey's big ass and get the first down. It's that simple. We're playing football, man. Be tough. Be physical.
Yeah.
Get that freaking yard. Man, come on, Andy Reid.
Well,
and I don't like the idea of taking the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands to begin with. When we need to get a first down, you're going to give Blake Bell the ball and have him snap the ball. Just run a straight up play. I'd rather do a rollout play with Patrick Mahomes, just taking a snap, rolling out, finding somebody for a short yardage play, or even running for it. That's way more deadly to me than trying to get Blake Bell to cause some kind of confusion up front. The problem with that play too in this past game is we got the defensive line to jump. Blake Bell just didn't have the wherewithal to snap it at that moment, and he could have got a penalty. Would have had a first down either way. So we decided to snap the ball after the guy had jumped. We could have got a penalty on them, and we snapped the ball and then tried to give the ball to a rookie on a jet sweep. It's just talk about pressure. That's a lot of pressure for that rook to make that play on the short yardage. It was maybe the most struggle area we have as far as offenses go. So either give Patrick the ball on those kind of plays, let him create something, or just run the damn ball up the gut or do a QB sneak. I just don't understand. Keep it simple sometimes, man.
Definitely. And I think that I hope that somehow maybe during training camp they did work on some short yardage situations. And last thing I want to say, the last thing I want to say about Kadarius Toney, he's great. He's a weapon that we all need, but he should have been man enough to go to the press, to the locker room, or wherever the media was, and said, this game's on me. And I have yet to see any film of him saying, this game's on me. I cost this game. This is why we lost. Derek Thomas, after he had 7 sacks and the 8th sack got away, and Dave Craig threw a Hail Mary, Derek Thomas went up to the media and said, yeah, it was great to have 7 sacks, but I cost the game because I did not get the last one. This was Kadarius Toney's moment to be that number 1 wide receiver and say, this game's on me. Instead, we're all concerned about his mental makeup. Is he going to be okay? Because I turned to Clay after the game. I said, with Kadarius Toney's psyche, this when we were walking out of the stadium after the game, I was saying to Clay, I don't know if he's up to handle the hate he's going to get, because I don't trust that he's going to be able to handle it. He's going to need Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, Patrick Mahomes saying, it's okay, forget about it, it's okay. Because now that he put all the Giants fans on blast on Twitter over the summer, it looks like he's a loose cannon. So this is an important week for the National Football League career of Kadarius Toney, and that's what I'll leave it at that.
I agree, man. And to kind of piggyback off what we said when it comes to the offensive line, I want to get your thoughts on the offensive line as a whole, because I'm very big on this offensive line. Trevor is as well. I know that I'm assuming that you do as well. I said that Donovan Smith, if he plays to the level that he played in the preseason, he could very much be an upgrade to Orlando Brown Jr., who I backed very much and believed that the Chiefs should have paid a lot of money to, and try to pay him a lot of money. But it looks like Donovan Smith had a little bit of a struggle in this game. He wasn't terrible by any means, but he gave up some pressures. Actually, according to one tweet that we had seen, I need to go and watch the film myself to verify this, but he gave up a 15% pressure rate, which is higher than any game Orlando Brown ever had in a Chiefs uniform. Whether that's completely accurate or not, because pressure rates are sometimes very subjective, can be opinion-based. That can be up for debate. But overall, I thought the offensive line was incredible. Patrick Mahomes didn't get sacked once. I thought that Juwan Taylor going against a guy that is a budding superstar, and Aiden Hutchinson, a guy that's going to make $150 to $200 million in his next contract. I thought Juwan Taylor hung tough. I thought they gave Patrick Mahomes plenty of opportunity. I saw was halfway through, Trevor, the third quarter, Patrick Mahomes was averaging 3.9 seconds per snap in the pocket. Like, he had time, and you saw the ball was on the money. He was hitting guys in stride. He was making plays. They were just simply dropped. I don't want to talk about the drops again. I just want to talk about this offensive line. Are you as impressed as what I was? Because, I mean, replacing your two tackles for the second time in 4 years, both of your tackles for the second time in 4 years, that's never easy to replicate and overcome. But I thought these guys as a nucleus, as a core, did an incredible job in protecting Patrick Mahomes. What are your thoughts?
Oh, man, they did great. Patrick had all day to pass. But I also think that they should have if you're going to specifically pay the right tackle, left tackle money, then you should be able to run behind him a little more. Now, I know people might be saying, hold on, Shaggy. This is a pass-heavy offense. We're not going to run behind a right tackle that we paid left tackle money to, which what I believe would it definitely help out the short yardage situations, maybe run, but we already covered that. But specifically to the offensive line, hell yeah, I loved it. Patrick Mahomes on 3rd and 17 had that time, and he freaking slung that sucker 25 yards over the middle into a tight window of MVS. Man, that was sweet. That lit up Arrowhead because at the time the offense was struggling, and that is what we needed. It was just like, hell yes. That was a Hall of Fame throw from Patrick Mahomes to MVS. And then on 4th and 25 with the game on the line, Patrick Mahomes has time. He even rolls to his left, throws clear across the field on 4th and 25, 28 yards, and Sky Moore has it in his hands, but he dropped it. But props to the offensive line for giving him that. I'm concerned about the Juwan Taylor thing because I read on Twitter after the game that there was a lot of people saying that he was lined up off sides. He was lined up off the offensive line. What is your take on that specifically, and what do you think? Do you think refs are going to call that, or is that something that Juwan Taylor got away with? What do you think moving forward about Juwan?
I think it was overized or over-covered because of the fact that, one, it was on national television and it was the Chiefs. We see Lane Johnson, we see several other top-tier right tackles in this league in particular do those early, that looks like an early jump, but really what it is, they time those jumps perfectly, and when it comes to where they line up, you go watch, I can send you the video, I'll give credit to where credit's due. Sterling Holmes from 810 Sports Radio, on his Twitter handle, on his Twitter account, broke this down perfectly. He shows clips, he shows receipts of other top-tier right tackles lining up behind the butt of their center. Now, the rules say what they say, but it shows that these guys are all doing it. Yes, it looked like Juwan Taylor was way in the backfield. Sometimes it looked like he was lined up at running back. But I'm telling you right now, this is a thing that they do in the league. They allow it. It's legal technically. They get away with stuff. I'm sure. And here's the thing. I mean, Shane, come on, man. We've been watching this game forever. We know that guys are always looking for that competitive advantage. And if it's within the gray areas of the rule book, we've seen Belichick test this many times. We've seen Mike Vrabel do it. We've seen guys test the rule book, bend the rules here and there. You're going to clearly do it. I mean, we saw the Chiefs. It isn't the same, but it is the same in the Super Bowl against the Eagles. The Chiefs were wearing gloves that matched the color of or were dark gloves, so you can't see sometimes when they push and pull and things like that. It's a little harder to see. But the Eagles wore black gloves when the Chiefs were wearing white jerseys, and what do you know? Bradbury gets that pull on Juju, and it's more obvious because of the contrast in color, and they picked up on it. So there's things that teams are always doing, tinkering with stuff like that, and to me, this is just a non-starter. I don't think this is a conversation to be had, and I don't understand why it got so much attention outside of, once again, first game, nationally televised, it's the Chiefs, everything's going to be overly criticized. That's my take on it. I don't know how Trevor feels about it.
No, I mean, it's like you said, Lane Johnson, we've seen him do it numerous times. It's just, this was just an intention. This was the primetime game. Everyone was, in every little detail of the game was going to be, put on blast. So for me, I absolutely loved what I saw out of Juwan, man. I thought he looked great.
Yeah.
I thought he looked such a good athlete. He's so quick and strong. I love the pass pro. We just got to figure out the running blocking scheme and figure out, get some running backs actually know how to hit the hole right, because there was just a lot of just running the wrong direction. And there was a couple freeze frames where Clyde had wide open gaps and he didn't hit them right. You know what I mean? So freeze frames can be, skewed the wrong way. It's easy to freeze a frame in a football game and not understand the split second change that happens in reality when you press play on that freeze frame. Overall, I loved the pass pro. I thought Juwan looked great. And the O-line overall gave Pat all the time to make the throws. It's just catching those throws is the important part.
Yeah, and Shane, I want to transition over to the defensive side because, going into this matchup, everyone talked about how the Lions, no Chris Jones. The Lions have a top 5 offense. They have a great OC in Ben Johnson, solid quarterback in Jared Goff, an awesome offensive line, a budding superstar in Amon-Ra St. Brown at wide receiver, good young running backs in the backfield, Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs. I'm sorry. They got a lot of talent, and everyone's like, oh, no Chris Jones. They're going to come. They're going to roll this defense. They're going to put up 30+. I never bought that. I had them scoring 24 in this game because, to the credit of Chris Jones's value, I felt that the Chiefs were going to give up, a few touchdowns and a field goal, but the Chiefs are going to win this game, and the defense is going to do enough to hold the Lions back, and that is exactly what happened. Even better so than what I predicted. And Trevor and I both agreed on this in our predictions that this was going to be a top 10 unit this year. That this Chiefs defense is as talented as Patrick Mahomes has ever had. And that's without Chris Jones. With Chris Jones, it's going to be a monster, and I can't wait for that.
And Amenahu back.
Yeah, we'll talk Chris Jones in a second, but we know how long Amenahu is going to be out. But this defense, to me, played an incredible game. Sure, there were times where the Lions got a couple chunk plays here and there, but when you're facing an awesome offense, that's going to happen. You can't expect this team to shut them down and hold them to 80 yards of total offense. That's just not a reality in the NFL, especially with the rules hinging upon the defensive players to give space to the offense to let them create. But I thought this defense, McDuffie was incredible, forcing the fumble and locking down receivers when he was on him. I thought L'Jarius Sneed overall had a good game, especially as rusty as he was, not playing a lot in training camp and preseason. But I thought the pass rushers is what I was looking for. I loved what I saw out of FAU. I loved what I saw out of George Karlaftis. Mike Dana got a sack. Derek Nottie was plugging in the lane in place of Chris Jones. I mean, I thought seeing FAU, a rookie player in his first game, getting double teamed by an elite offensive line tells me that this dude's got something in his repertoire, man. And I loved what I saw. And like I said, we'll talk about Chris Jones in a second, but the guys on the field is what I want to focus on in this particular portion of this conversation. What did you see being 100 feet from the field? What did you see from these young guys?
I saw some guys that wanted to play, and they came out and they played. I didn't even know who number 93 was. I'm looking down the field. Who's number 93? I said to Clay, and we're like, I don't know. You guys know who number 93 was next to Nottie? No, I mean, you could. I guess you could look it up and see, but it seemed like 91 and 93 were holding their own. What surprised me, and it wasn't a fault because I think the cornerbacks with Sneed, Josh Williams, and McDuffie held it down. Jalen Watson didn't see any secondary play. Did he get hurt early? Does anybody know?
I didn't see him go out. It didn't look like he was out.
Jalen Watson was fourth behind Joshua Williams on the, at least when it come to snaps, because he wasn't out there. I kept saying to Clay, I said, you know what's weird? Jalen Watson's not out there. But I thought Sneed, Williams, and McDuffie held it down. I loved Reed getting that sack on fourth down when the Lions were trying to run the clock. He not sacked, but he broke the pass up. And, they put us in a position to be successful. At the end of the game, it sucked because you wanted them to hold them to a field goal, but they ran 3 times for 10 yards. Man, that was the play. I mean, if we could have held them to a field goal and kept our timeouts with 150 left, we would have been down 4, but it wasn't meant to be. But I think for the most part, those kids that went out there and played, I got to give it to Mike Dana. Mike Dana played well, and he's a situational player that seems to always get the big sacks. 8 of his 14 career sacks are against Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
It's a weird stat, but it is. And I like Mike Dana. I like FAU, of course, man. He was getting a lot of pressure. Clay kept saying, look at Felix. He was freaking coming hard. That's what you want to see from these kids. The foundation of the defense is young, and I liked what I seen.
Yeah, I'm in 100% agreement with you, which is why, again, I was very confident this defense did more than enough. I mean, they gave up one legitimate scoring drive game. I know that the fake punt on the 16-yard line, absolutely ballsy by Dan Campbell, but it worked, and I can't blame the defense for that because they did their job. They pinned them back, and then they had to go right back on the field. They had one legitimate scoring drive. They did more than enough to help this team win. But let's talk about the elephant that continues to grow in this damn room, man. I know that it's not something we like talking about, but it has to be talked about because it is a prolonging problem. Chris Jones is not only sitting out, he's up in the damn sweet box with his 2 jackass agents doing whatever, pretending like they're on the phone every time they get on camera. This whole situation is just very I've been on Chris Jones' corner the entire time. Trevor, you can ask Trevor. I've said, the Chiefs need to pay him. They better not lowball him. But ever since we've heard the figures come out where they're willing to pay him $27 million a year, $54.5 million over a 2-year extension, where it's $54 million in new money, would make him that's actually the most guaranteed money a defensive tackle would ever make over a 2-year span in NFL history. I mean, look, man, I know he wants to make 32 a year when it comes to the new money, 64 total. You're not getting that here, and you're not getting that anywhere else, especially if you sit out more games. You don't the things don't go the way we want them to this year, and then you're 30 years old trying to hit the open market. It's not a reality. No one's going to pay him that kind of money by the way things are going right now. So I think he needs to take the money. I think he needs to report as soon as possible, hopefully Monday. Get in the fold, help this defense help win games this year, because the next 9 games are not going to be easy for the Chiefs at all, and Chris Jones is a very important role. I get that the defense played very well, and I think they can continue to play well for a stretch without Chris Jones, but as I've told Trevor, and I have been saying on Twitter, Facebook, everywhere else, I do not believe the Chiefs will win the Super Bowl without Chris Jones. He needs to be on the fold. He needs to play because this guy is an ultimate difference maker. He's a one-of-one player in this league, still in the prime years of his career. I don't like the way he's handled things. This thing is weird as shit when it comes to him and the Katz brothers doing the things the way they're doing, where he's saying at the Ronald McDonald thing, which I thought was awesome. He made that commitment. He honored that commitment, but goes to the press. First of all, says, well, I don't want to talk about it. I can't get into it, and then gets into it and talks about it. Says that he doesn't want to be a distraction to the team, but then 24 hours later, 48 hours later, whatever it is, he's at the stadium knowing that NBC is going to pan to him every single time anything notable happens with the defense. And that's exactly what they did. And I feel that he was the opposite of what he wanted to be. I know his intentions are good. I know he wants to be a Chief. I know he loves being a Chief, and I do believe he wants to retire a Chief. He's handling this the worst way possible. Like I said, the money's there. They're trying to pay him. They're being fair. They make him the second highest player in the league at his position right now, which is what he requested. Damn it, take the damn money, man. That's my thoughts. Shane, where are you at, man?
My thoughts 2.5 weeks ago on Arrowhead Allies, I said they should pay him whatever he wants. Make him the highest. Let's do it. And it didn't happen, obviously. And I started to do more due diligence. I mean, I felt like I did enough because I'm a big Chris Jones fan. But I think everything that you just set and broke down, I caught wind of last week. And him showing up at Arrowhead with the Katz brothers, who have obviously led this on to a train wreck. It's a bad look. Regardless of specifics of financial situation, the Chiefs kingdom will remember this. They will remember this, and they will take it to heart the longer he misses, because they don't understand 27 million to 30 million to 70 million signing bonus, this, that, and there. They know that he's not there, and the millions and millions speak when people are barely able to scrape up enough money to go to the game and pay the park. They look at this as, man, Chris Jones isn't doing good. And when people intelligent like you and Trevor and the guys at Arrowhead Allies know, and Clint, and not just you four, but just from the world who looks at the math and see how it adds up. And then when I read it and look at it, being a diehard Chris Jones fan, he's hurting himself. He's losing millions. And most important, he's going to lose if this gets ugly. I remember 25 years ago when Dan Williams, the defensive tackle, held out the entire year. He held out the entire year. He came back in 1999 and played, but nobody liked him. Yeah. Granted, Dan Williams and Chris Jones are obviously two different players playing in two different eras, but once you hold out and miss an entire season or 8 games, and if the Chiefs go 7-10 this year, just hypothetically, because Chris Jones held out the first 8 weeks, he's done, man. He is done in Kansas City. I've seen it. I've seen fans turn on players, and if this gets ugly and it causes the Chiefs to lose next week because the Jacksonville Jaguars ran it down their throat, it won't be in Chris Jones' favor. Nobody's going to be saying, hey, Brett Veach, do it now. Give him more. Give him what he wants. Nobody's going to do that because he stuck his feet in the ground and said, nope, this is where I'm going to stay, and it will hurt Chris Jones. Trust me, the Chiefs can go – this is hypothetical. The Chiefs can go 7-10 this year because they lost Chris Jones, but still turn it around and win a Super Bowl next year without him because they'll prepare for him and still be a dynasty. This is on Chris Jones and what he wants to do moving forward. And if he doesn't sign today, I mean, right now, like as I'm sitting here talking, then it's going to get bad. It's going to get bad for Chris Jones, and it's not a good light. The Katz brothers obviously botched this. They are amateur hour. You know, yes, they represent not a good friend, but a friend of mine in Byron Pringle. But still, Chris Jones is their big ticket, and they're botching this all up.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I want to say this too. I think one of the main things that bugs me the most about this situation is obviously we all love Chris. And Chris has put forth this persona that he loves us as fans. He loves Chiefs Kingdom, which is why I feel the biggest issue that is the lack of congruence in what he's portraying to be and the hypocrisy that he's portraying right now. He says he doesn't want to be a distraction, yet here he is at the Banner game sitting up there in the suite watching his friends and his coworkers lose when he could have been a massive contributor to changing that game or possibly changing the outcome of that game. Regardless if the defense played well or not, he could have made it even that much better on top of that. So the hypocrisy and the burning of bridges right now is my biggest issue because he's been all about, we're building something here. They're going to make a movie about this. We're building a dynasty, blah, blah, blah. But here you are causing a massive issue and a rift within that process. You don't want to be a distraction. You don't want to do a hold-in because you think that's more distracting than you doing a hold-out and then showing up to games. You think that's less distracting? It's hypocritical to me for him to say he doesn't want to be a distraction and then doing what he's doing right now. And actively causing a rift in the dynastic run that you are glorifying and fantasizing about. It makes no sense to me. This is more than just football for me right now. This is a personality trait issue with Chris Jones. And I'm not going to come down on a man's IQ. I think he's very misguided right now by the people that are in his ears. And I think he's taking terrible advice right now, and this could cause the end of Chris Jones in Chiefs Kingdom. I agree with you, Shaggy. I think this could be an issue to where if he holds out for 3-4 more weeks, the Chiefs might not have no choice. I mean, if he shows up week 8, yeah, he's probably going to play, but I know trading him makes no real sense. But I mean, I know Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, and their pressers, they've all come out and talked about how they support him in his decision. You got to feed your family, do it best, get the generational wealth. I don't believe everything that they say in those pressures. I think that this is absolutely bugging Patrick Mahomes. I think this is absolutely bugging Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is trying to go out there and play on one leg, putting in every effort to keep this run alive, this magical run alive, and then you got a guy out there sitting in the stands in straight clothes, 100% healthy.
Yeah, Lance did the math right there. You can become the second best player or paid player at your position right there. That math is all there for Chris Jones. It's cut and dry. So he's doing more harm for himself because if Brett Veach really wanted to freaking stick it to him, and he could, they could lay the franchise tag on him next year. He could hold out 8 games, and guess what?
This is getting cheaper.
Slam the franchise tag on him. And then by the time Chris Jones becomes a free agent, the year after that, then see how much you'll get. You'll be thinking, man, I should have took that deal 2 years ago in the summer of 2023, but I listened to these freaking 2 yahoos freaking try to blow smoke who have no skill set of freaking how to represent a freaking player of that ilk. It's disappointing. The math's right there. Thank you, Lance.
Yeah, and I will say this, not to sound like Nicholas Sparks here from The Notebook, but it's kind of sad, honestly, because and obviously he could come back and things can be good when Chiefs win the Super Bowl again, and then we're sitting here, having another parade and everything's good, and then the Chiefs extend them, and all this could end up going very well. But just as Trevor alluded, what you've alluded to, what a lot of Chiefs fans have alluded to, I collect it all and I gather it all and I put it in a vacuum, and I'm just sad about it because I watched this NFL Network special just a couple nights ago, and I see the guy that's coordinating everybody that goes on the stage after the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, and they're trying to obviously get Patrick Mahomes up there, and Patrick gives a personal testimony about it. He goes, they were telling me to go up there, and they were probably going to get Travis Kelce to go up there with me because obviously the 2 notables. He goes, but they show the clip of Patrick going, no, get 95 up here too. Get Chris. He makes the guy go get Chris Jones. And Patrick says in the after video, he goes, well, to me, they want Kelce and they want me up there, but Chris Jones was just as much of a part of this as we were. And that got me kind of emotional because I'm sitting here, I'm like this guy is such an important piece to what the Chiefs are doing and still doing. It's not like a past thing where it's like, oh man, remember the good old days where Chris Jones was still good, and oh man, that sucks that he's like gone away. And he's still the best at what he does, and the Chiefs absolutely need him to win another Super Bowl, whether people want to admit that or not. He is a pivotal figure to the equation of what they're trying to do this season. That's why Travis Kelce has been so sad about it. That's why Patrick Mahomes has been so sad about it, because they miss their friend, they miss their brother, and they miss one of the key contributors to this team moving forward. And like Trevor said, he's getting horrific advice. I'm all for a man going and getting his money. I want Chris Jones to get as much money as he possibly can. But at some point, you have to admit that this is what your market is, my brother. Like Travis Kelce knew what his market was, and he accepted the money the Chiefs got him, and he got rewarded for that. And this man is out here becoming one of the greatest at what he does, if not the greatest at what he does. Chris Jones has that same opportunity. He averages the same amount of sacks per season as Warren Sapp, who's maybe outside of Aaron Donald the best at defensive tackle in the history of this game. And so it's frustrating for me. It's sad to me because it also felt like, the first time the Chiefs won the Super Bowl in 2020, we didn't get to celebrate because of COVID. And so you felt like we missed that as Chiefs fans. We didn't get to watch the banner. There was only 7,000 fans at the stadium that game. We were lucky to have that. But then this time around, it felt like the whole offseason, being able to celebrate as defending champs, we're sitting here talking about Chris Jones sitting out. We're talking about L'Jarius Sneed's injury. We're talking about Travis Kelce missing game 1 for the first time in his career. It just felt like we missed it again. It felt very bittersweet. I'm sure for you and Clay and all the fans at Arrowhead on Thursday, it was still great. It was still a myopic situation. It was still great, I'm sure. But at the same time, it felt like it could have been better. It didn't feel like we were all together. Did you get that sense, or I just over here just being too sappy?
No, you're nailing that feeling about Chris Jones, but I had to fight back some tears just because watching the banner drop. I was a season ticket holder from 91 through 2011. I've been going to Chiefs games since 1977. I'm 53, and being there to watch it drop, I had to turn away from Clay a little bit because I was fighting back some tears for that moment as a Chiefs fan, because it was the pinnacle. I didn't get to be there. We didn't get to be there in 2020 because of COVID. And that meant a great deal to me emotionally. As right before kickoff, I started thinking, man, I sure hope Chris Jones is here. Like I said, I haven't seen the game yet. I got it on DVR, but I haven't seen it yet. How many times did they show Chris Jones and the Katz brothers in the suite? To get a guess?
Trev, correct me if I'm wrong. I saw at least 20 times. At least 20 times. They made it an emphasis.
And they're showing the agents on their phones left and right, as if they're making some kind of.
On air? Yeah, I'm busy. Yeah, what's going on? What are you
It was strange, man.
Yeah, it was pathetic.
It was strange.
Wow. Do you think the Katz brothers knew they were on TV?
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Because if you've ever been in those suites, you'll see they have TVs in the suites.
Yeah.
And
so
Chris,
they see it.
And Chris's giant ass is sitting right in between them.
Yeah.
He's got one on each side, his little goons. It is a strange, very, honestly, very, very triggering as a Chiefs fan. It's very triggering seeing us out there struggle and trying to get, just missing that anchor on the defense and seeing him out there eating popcorn with his two goons. It's hard. It's hard to respect that, honestly.
A little bit of Chiefs Kingdom history. Albert Lewis sat in the booth with Carl Peterson in 1990 after he held out all training camp and preseason. And immediately after the game, Albert Lewis and Carl Peterson agreed on their contract situation. And it was awesome because we got our best cornerback back. And Albert Lewis also played on special teams. And Albert Lewis blocked a punt the next week, which was the second week of the season, and the third week, and the fourth week. He came back, he had something to play. He had blocked 3 punts in a row after holding out. I was hoping if Chris Jones was going to be in the suite, he was going to be in the suite with Brett Veach on Thursday night. But apparently he was sitting in his own suite with the Katz brothers on each side pretending to be on their cell phones, which continues the embarrassment of Chris Jones' contract entire situation.
Yep. A couple more things here, Shaggy, and we'll get you out of here because, man, this has been a fun conversation. We always love when we have you on, man, because you always bring it. We're 8 days away as we currently stand from the Chiefs to Jacksonville, a team that I'm very much big on. Trevor's very much big on. I don't know where you stand with the Jaguars, but I think this 12-win team this year, very light schedule, especially when it comes to quarterback matchups. But I think that this is going to be a very tough matchup for the Jaguars because I don't know how good their defense is going to be overall. Trevor and I are going to talk about this at another time, but I think the Chiefs have a real opportunity here to bounce back, and I actually like the fact they're going on the road after a frustrating loss like that at home because I think the Chiefs, for whatever reason, in the Mahomes era, they just seem to click on the road. Patrick Mahomes loves playing. He admitted that to Nate in this last year when they were having their interview. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to go out there and do some great things, and hopefully these wide receivers will bounce back. And obviously, I'm expecting Travis Kelce to play in this game, and I think Travis is going to be Travis. I think he's going to look just great, just fine. The Chiefs are going to be back in rhythm offensively. But I want to get your take, your thoughts, your opinion, and if you're kind enough to give us a little bit of a prediction of what you're expecting from this Chiefs-Jaguars matchup coming up this next week.
Man, it's going to be tough. This is where your coaching comes in. This is where your coaching, when you lose a game that you felt like you should have won when you dropped the world championship banner, your coaches have to be able to mentally prepare these guys for the next, granted they got a 10-day break in between games. So that should help them coming to working on their mental makeup and preparation for the game. But I think it's going to be tougher than what they expect, especially if Chris Jones is still holding out. I think it's going to come down to the wire. The Chiefs are more battle-tested than Jacksonville, and I think there's probably going to be – I'm not reaching when I say this. There's probably going to be 15,000 Chiefs fans down there because Florida has a strong chapter for Chiefs fans attending. I don't know if Fidel Blocker and the Chiefs or Die Group are going to be there or not, but I know for the most part Florida has a strong fan base, and there's a strong fan base down in the southeastern region that loves the Chiefs. So I think that it's going to be a tough game. I hope we can win. I think we can right now. I'm going to say it's going to go into overtime, and whoever scores, I think the Chiefs can win in overtime, but I think it's going to be a freaking nail biter. I hope I'm wrong. I hope everybody's there. I hope Chris Jones is signed by the time we're done with this podcast, and everything's good to go and we're feeling good about ourselves. But I think it's going to be a tough game, and I think the Chiefs can win in overtime, 31-28.
I like that. Now, Shane, before we get you out of here, you and I did have a discussion on the phone yesterday, and you told me that you had an announcement to make, and you were kind enough to allow our platform to be where you actually made that announcement first and foremost. So, Shaggy, I'm going to give you the floor right now. You can take as much time as you need. But this is an announcement you wanted to make.
Wait. Before the announcement, let's do our Justin Ross bet.
Okay.
Lance, let me tell the viewers. Me and Lance talked over like in June. I said, "Man, you're not talking about Justin Ross enough on the Spoken. Let's make a bet." and I said, let's bet our beards. I said, I'll shave my beard, and you'll shave your beard if Justin Ross makes the team. And Lance said, no, let's not bet that because you shave your beard 2 or 3 times a year. So Lance came up with a bet from what movie? Adam Sandler?
Happy Gilmore.
Okay, and what was the bet that you wanted to give me if Justin Ross made the team?
Well, I said that I was going to go on here on the show and actually give you the actual and tell it to you like you're Chubbs and I'm Happy Gilmore. So without further ado, I'm stupid, you're smart, I was wrong, you're right. I'm not attractive, you're very attractive looking, and Justin Ross looks like the boss.
I love you, Lance. I love you, Lance. Even though we disagree sometimes and we get mad at each other sometimes, you know I love you. And Trevor, I love you too, even though you don't reply to my Facebook messages.
I don't reply to anybody's, man.
I asked Trevor. I sent Trevor a heartfelt message on being a lead admin on Justin Ross fan page. It was a joke, but he didn't reply. But that's how he is. But you know I love you both, and I champion you both.
Of course.
All right. Specifically to Shaggy Shane, the Shaggy Shane Kansas City Chiefs show. You know, when I started doing that, it was me and Jason Jones started doing Chiefs Coalition on a fan page in 2008. Props to Jason Jones. You met him, Lance. We did video that we had put on that message board. And after 2008, Jason moved to Arizona, and Nick Athen of Warpaint Illustrated asked me to take over for Ollie Starr, who went to 38th the spot. And for 4 seasons, I was on Warpaint Illustrated talking Chiefs. I had a chance to interview Dustin Colquitt and Kendall Gammon and basically build up my following, because I had that following on Facebook because of what I did with Jason Jones and because of what I did with Warpaint Illustrated. I started after Chiefs games for about 2 or 3 years. I would just post my feelings of it on Facebook. And my oldest daughter, Tara, said, why don't you just create a YouTube page just so you can just do your YouTube? I said, I don't know, man. But then I thought, you know what, I might as well. It's cathartic. It makes me feel good emotionally after the game. So I created a YouTube page in 2014. I didn't start doing it consistently every single Chiefs game until 2016. And between 2016 and 2022, you know, seven seasons of just, you know, breaking down the Chiefs games. It's been fun. It's been awesome. I got to meet great friends. I got to make friends, and the Pat Mahomes Sr. and his late Mama Cindy, who's beautiful. Rest in peace. She's been super awesome. She started watching me as soon as Patrick Mahomes was drafted. They were looking online to see what Kansas City fans thought of their grandson being drafted. And she said, "Oh my gosh, look at this guy. He's so great. He loves Patrick Mahomes being drafted." And it expedited the friendship that I have with Pat Mahomes Sr., his beautiful sister Tanisha, as well as his Johnny Mahomes, Patrick's grandparents. We met him at the game, a home opener. You were with us, Lance. But anyway, I just got up to 4,000 followers and subscribers on my page, and it has been fun and it has been great. But I knew at the Super Bowl, when I was doing my Super Bowl live last February, if I'm ever going to end it, this is the time. This is the time to end it. I got 500 fans in here talking to me, asking questions, and I sat there knowing this is going to be my last post-game show. Now, I know people might be saying, hold on, Shaggy. I need to know what you're feeling after an emotional win, a heartbreaking loss, when you're extremely sad. If you want to continue to hear me breaking down the Chiefs game, stick with my YouTube page on Tuesday nights on Arrowhead Allies. Tuesday nights on Arrowhead Allies with Noah Groniger and Clint Schweitzer from Starcade Media, Brian B. Shinen from Hot 103 Jams, and Michael Matthew from TGN Sports in Los Angeles. It's just where I wanted to be right now. It's the next step. After doing my YouTube page for 7 years, there's only so far you can take it. I didn't get into it to make money. Like I said, I got into it it's cathartic. It felt good. It was knee jerk. It was immediately after the game. You don't know how many times I called for Andy Reid to be fired after some of those freaking heartbreaking losses, because I did. But I was always next week saying, okay, Andy, you got to redeem yourself. We love you. And I love Andy Reid. But for the most part, you don't want to wear yourself out at the party. Wear out your welcome. You don't want to wear out your welcome at the party. When it's time to go, it's time to go. You know, I grew up loving the band Kiss, but they stayed 22 years past their prime. They did their farewell tour. Two of the original members aren't in the band anymore. They wear wigs just to keep on with the persona because they can't let it go. That's kind of embarrassing. I love Chris Berman on ESPN. He was the first to really start it, and he had his shtick, and it was really cool. But in my opinion, Chris Berman stayed around at the party too long. My final post game, like I said, was when we were Super Bowl champions in February. That's how I wanted to go. But folks, it's goodbye to the Shaggy Shane Kansas City Chiefs show, but it's not good night. I will be on Arrowhead Allies, and I'll continue to be a guest with Lance and Trevor on The Spoken, as well as other great podcasts like Two Gyms and a Mic with the diva Tanisha Mahomes and LD Miss Linda Dorsey. I will be on there. You can still find me. You don't be upset. Don't shed a tear. This is just the next step in the evolution of Shaggy Shane. I want to thank you all for being there. Lance, my God, you were there on the most important show of the freaking Shaggy Shane Chief show in April 22nd, 2017. I called you up. I said, hey, you want to be on my show? And you said, yes, let's do it. I said, I want to talk about quarterbacks. I called Clay Windler. I said, hey, I'm going to have Lance Twiddle of The Spoken on my show over the mock draft for the 2017 Chiefs, and we're going to demand the Chiefs get a quarterback. And I love Clay. We both love Clay. Clay said, let's wait till next year and take a chance on Baker Mayfield or
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold.
He was saying Sam Darnold, yeah.
He likes Sam Darnold. I said, man, no, we're going to go on this show, and we're going to talk specifics about the Chiefs getting Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson. It's going to happen. And when I knew Lance Twidwell was coming over to sit in my basement to talk about it, I got nervously excited because I knew it was important. And every show that I have done for my Shaggy Shane show, when having you on there, it was from the heart. It was sincere. It was knee jerk because it was organic, because that's what the Shaggy Shane show was all about. And it had to be that way. And it was an important step because Lance, you and I were the only one who were saying, hey, I want Patrick Mahomes. And you're like, yeah, I'll take Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. But we were both happy with Patrick Mahomes and we both wanted it and we felt it. And when it happened, it was the freaking moment because I knew we were going to be up to a dynasty. I knew it was that time. And that's still probably the most important show I've ever had. So if anybody, I'm not deleting my page. You can still go see the old shows, but moving forward for the Shaggy Shane Chief Show, you can continue to look for Arrowhead Allies. It's on my page under live. Go to the live section and you'll see us break down stuff. Just in this last month, we've had Bill Moss, Pat Mahomes Sr., the trainer that worked with Travis Kelce his first 6 years in the league for the Chiefs. We continue to grow, and you're under the same umbrella as us. If you want to watch freaking great post games, check out freaking Lance and Trevor and Vaughn Booker. If you need a freaking awesome post game, stick here on this YouTube page and watch Lance and Trevor break down with Vaughn Booker. I love Vaughn Booker. The guy had so much swagger at Arrowhead. He wasn't just a Neil Smith backup. He freaking brought it. He brought it, and he's got freaking passion and heart and desire. He knows his football. So if you need to get your NFL post game fix, watch Lance and Trevor and Vaughn Booker. But that's it, man. That's been a blast. I want to thank my Shaggy Shane followers. I want to thank you, Lance and Trevor, for letting me use your format to announce that, because I haven't announced it yet on my page. This is the first I've announced it, because after the Chiefs game, I was getting bombarded in my PMs about when's your post game? Where's your post game? And this is it. This is goodbye. I wanted to end it with the Chiefs being on a Super Bowl champion with so many people in my live feed. And I love you guys, and I love my followers from the bottom of my heart, man. I can't thank you guys enough, and best of luck and success moving forward. And I'd love to be back again.
It's our honor to have that announcement on our show. It goes to that question, bro, that, we go way back. And, back when you invited me on the show, I was excited as hell, because I believe that was the first time you and I actually just hung out in person. And so it was interesting to see the dynamic play the way it did, because I remember you brought me in your house, you gave me a beer, we hung out a little bit, you introduced me to Tracy. I believe the girls were there as well. I met them, I met the dogs, and it just immediately felt like family. And then so when we went on the cameras, if you guys watch that video, I recommend you go back and watch it. It looks like a bunch of old buddies hanging out. But that was literally the first time Shaggy and I actually just hung out, and so it was awesome. I'll never forget that time, man. I agree, that was one of the most important videos I ever did myself as well. And I when it comes to this situation with you, man, stepping away, I don't look at it as stepping down. You're stepping up. You're going to the next chapter, because your voice matters too much. Your opinions matter too much to your Chiefs community, Chiefs Kingdom. So you going to Arrowhead Allies, you being a special guest on shows like ours, it's just you just changing the format a little bit. It's you're not retiring, you're not stepping away. It's just you taking the next step. And I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of what you're doing. And just don't lose that authenticity. Just keep doing what you're doing. That's why we have you on the show, because we only have people on this show that are authentic, that are honest with what they say and what they believe. And that is why you're one of the most, if not the most frequented guest that we have ever had on this show. And that's going to continue to be the case. I love you, bro. I appreciate you. And again, thank you so much for allowing us the honor of having that announcement be made official on this show. We don't take that lightly. We don't take you lightly. And I know that the rest of the people out there echo those sentiments. So that's our guy, Shaggy Shane. I love you to death, man.
Love you.
Excited to watch excited as hell to watch Arrowhead Allies this week. Keep kicking ass and keep making Starcade Media that much better for just simply being on the platform, brother.
Absolutely.
I love you guys. Kick ass, man, and keep kicking ass with Vaughn Booker. I'll be watching. Have a great rest of the show, guys, and have a great weekend.
You too, brother. Bro. That's our guy, Shaggy Shane. Couldn't more. That was an hour, but 20 minutes. That was just a blast. And that's that. If that doesn't make you feel better after a very frustrating loss like the Chiefs just suffered, I don't know what will or what could. But that was awesome, and I appreciate my guy giving that. When he told me yesterday he was going to announce it on our show, I was pretty floored, because I know how serious he takes it. Trevor knows this, that Shaggy's all about the brand, man. He's all about, giving people what genuinely is him. Yep. And that means a lot to me, man. It's a full circle thing if you really think about it. Being old friends like this, and then we being the ones that he gets to announce that with. That's something I don't take lightly at all. But you know what we're gonna do, Trevor? We're gonna transition and get to our other favorite people, and that is you, the viewing and listening audience right now on the live stream. This is now Speak It, where we give you guys the platform. We get your questions, your concerns, your takes. I'm assuming the chat's been filling up the whole entire episode.
Whole lot of movement.
So let's go ahead and get to that movement, Trevor. Let's get to the people, man, what they got to say. Let's go to Speak It.
All right, so we've got a whole lot of movement, like I said in the chat. So bear with me as I try to kind of sift through what are actual questions and what are not. Side conversations, which I'm all for the side conversations. I love you guys. I love you guys in there talking it up and replying to what we're talking about, making other statements and things like that and rebuttals and so on and so forth. So the me get to this question, though, here from our guy James T. Just right off the bat on YouTube. He says, starting 7 receivers, was it a mistake? You can't build chemistry with receivers going in and out in different packages.
I think the only reason it looks like a mistake is because of the fact that it just simply didn't work. You look at the guy, I felt like there was no rhythm. Again, like I said, I felt like the offensive game plan was kind of thrown out the window and thrown to the side because Travis Kelce was gone. I don't believe 7 receivers would have been active had Travis Kelce been playing. And quite frankly, we wouldn't have seen all 7 receivers play if Travis Kelce
the packages would have been different.
Playing. Yeah, the package would have been totally different and there would have been more fluidity. But because of the fact that he wasn't there, you saw an overthinking, overstressing type of game plan where there was just no rhythm. Like I said, there was no pacing. It just felt like they were very flustered, and I didn't like it at all. I felt like they didn't utilize enough of some of the receivers, and they utilized too much of some of the other receivers. And I think there needs to be more implementation for guys like Justin Ross, for guys like Rashee Rice. And again, this is coming from me. The guy that a couple months ago was saying that Justin Ross wasn't going to make the roster unless he proved otherwise. He did. Now I'm saying give this kid some opportunity because every time he gets the chance at a ball, he makes something happen. So
he puts the Ross in roster, right?
Exactly. They put the Ross on roster. And I'm telling you, this kid, I'm still holding my right to my opinion on the kid, but I think that he's showing real promise. He's showing that he is somebody that could be something special in this offense if given the opportunity. I just didn't like the fact he didn't get it. And then, like I said, Rashee Rice, a rookie receiver that I don't believe rookie receivers do much in Andy Reid's offense based upon 10 years of evidence.
Yep.
He looks like a guy that could be the exception to the rule, and I'm willing to live with that because that only makes this offense that much more complex and that much more difficult to game plan each and every week. So that's my takeaway of it. I was very frustrated with the performance. I was expecting a lot more based upon what I've been told and what I've been sold all offseason.
All right, next question from James Kirk as well. How much is Chris Jones worth in guaranteed dollars?
Oh, I think that he's worth every penny that the Chiefs are offering him. I think the man is worth $54 million total guarantees. And let me. I did see our guy Brian Parrott did come against the totals when he said that no 3-year $54 million offer has been offered, or no 3-year $27 million a year offer has been offered. You're right. The Chiefs aren't offering a 3-year extension. They're offering a 2-year extension. We have to look at new money. His $19.5 million is not changing this year. The Chiefs will not budge on that.
Yeah.
So we have to look at new money and new years. So the extension is 2 years, $54 million. I think it's 27.2 or 27.5 million a year. Chris Jones is asking for 2 years, $64 million. It's new money we're talking about here, not adding to this year. The only thing that Chris Jones is doing with his money this year is losing it so far. He's not adding anything to it. The Chiefs definitely aren't either. So we have to look at this as and to be honest with you guys, I'm gonna say this. If I'm Chris Jones, I'm excited about a 2-year extension. You know why?
Right.
Because I, at 31 years old, would have a chance at a 4th contract. Do you know how rare that is for an interior defensive lineman to get 4 contracts? So he has an opportunity here to still be in his prime at 31 years old and get an additional 30, 40, 50 guaranteed $1 million if he plays that well at a decent level for the next 2 seasons. So if I'm Chris Jones, I do that. I get the $54 million guaranteed after this season, and then after I'm 31 years old, I can get another extension, whether it's in Kansas City or somewhere else. But at that point, I can have 3-4 Super Bowls, and I can be sitting pretty with a Hall of Fame resume, and I can get an additional $25 to $50 million. Sign me up. I don't know what he's doing at this point.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Next question is from Mika L on YouTube. Do you think, this is back to the Justin Ross, to touch on Justin Ross again, do you think the Chiefs know how to use Justin Ross? I've got a bad feeling they don't. They wanted a big receiver like him, but they like smaller receivers.
Well, that's true, but here's the thing. The reason why they drafted Rashee Rice is because he is literally a replica, body-wise, of what a DeAndre Hopkins or a Sammy Watkins, which is a 6'1"-ish wide receiver, which is actually a big receiver. 6'1" in the NFL is a big receiver, and he has a little bit of a body to him. He's about 198 to 200 pounds, maybe a little bit more than that. So those are big receivers, especially in an Andy Reid offense, because you're right, more times than not, Andy's been getting the Jeremy Maclin, Deshaun Jackson, Tyreek Hill, undersized, speedy receivers. But ever so often, he needs one of those bigger. That's why they wouldn't give up on Josh Gordon. They were trying to turn him into something because he's a 6'3", 220-pound receiver. He's a monster receiver. He's like Calvin Johnson's size. So I don't think it's that they don't know how to use Justin Ross. I think what it is I think that they're still trying to implement him in the offense, which is why, again, I can live with it if that's their intention. If they're like, look, we're just figuring out where he lies, where he resides. In my opinion, I think Justin Ross is going to be a guy that's a red zone target because he's a tall receiver. What is Justin Ross, 6'2"? Mm-hmm. Like, he's a tall receiver.
Back shoulder throws.
He's not a big, he's not a big receiver. He's not big, muscular guy. He's a little more on the lanky side. He's kind of built like Plaxico Burress was. I think he's going to be that kind of guy where in the red zone, you throw the ball up, let him get those 50-50 balls, like Travis Kelce, a bigger guy, bigger target, let him go up and get the ball. I think that's what Justin Ross is going to start to become. But again, as our guy Clay Windler from Red Stripe Cinema, our producer, was saying and showing me videos of, Justin Ross has got downfield speed. So he could be a guy that it becomes a downfield threat. We don't know. I don't think he's ever going to become a possessions receiver.
He was that in college for sure.
But I definitely think he's going to be a downfield threat and a red zone target. Rashee Rice is going to turn into that Sammy Watkins type of player where he's doing those 5-yard digs, 5 yards fades, things like that, where he's getting those 5 to 10 yards for the Chiefs. I think that's what Rashee Rice is going to become, and I'm expecting that a lot in 2024. But again, I am not going to sit here and say this man can't be the exception to the rule, because what I saw in this Lions game with the short sample size, I think he could become that one rookie that shows us what he is in his rookie career or rookie season.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we just need one of these guys to rise to the top, and then we can figure out the rest.
Rise to the top?
Yeah, hey. Possibly. Before I get to the next question, I do want to there was some breaking news in the NFL. Cooper Kupp has now been placed on the IR. So Cooper Kupp will miss for the first 4 weeks of the NFL season. So for fantasy purposes, for anybody who just cares about random breaking news during the day, there's that for you. So I just wanted to get that out there while it's fresh. Shocking. Yeah, I think we all kind of expected that. Hamstring is something he dealt with last year, and now he had to go see a specialist. So we kind of knew that was coming down. So
sucks, man. Yeah,
it's unfortunate. Next question is from Julia Gulia, the one named Julia on YouTube. Do we start planning for life without Travis now?
Have I not been saying that, Trevor?
You wanted a tight end in the draft, yeah.
I said the Chiefs need to get a tight end in the first 3 rounds.
There's a lot of good tight ends in this draft.
Yeah, get a tight end in the first 3 rounds. That was my 3rd pick, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
I wanted Luke Musgrave.
Or it may have been the 2nd pick. I could have even said tight end. I forget. I'll have to go back and look. Yeah. But yeah, I said tight end needed to be taken seriously in this draft. But it wasn't more than just tight end. Guys, I wanted more receivers that were reliable figures because of the fact that they need help now. It isn't just 2024, 2025, 2026, however long Travis Kelce plays. Juju Smith-Schuster was an important piece for this offense last year, guys.
Yep.
We can't sit here and pretend this dude didn't have, in 15 games, missed 2 games last year, had 933 yards. Patrick Mahomes was hitting him early and often in games. He was a reliable guy that took pressure off Travis Kelce. Right now, I don't know if the Chiefs have that guy. Maybe they do. Maybe Rashee Rice, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, one of these guys becomes that guy, and I fucking hope so. Because if they don't, the Chiefs are going to be relying on Travis Kelce and just Travis Kelce. And if he was 26, I'm okay with that. Because the Vikings are relying on 22, 20, or 24-year-old Justin Jefferson. He's 24 years old. Stephon Diggs in Buffalo's 29. He can withstand that still. Travis Kelce's going to be 34 in about 5 weeks, guys. That's not something, 34 years old in 5 weeks, that's a lot on one man. And most great tight ends, Shannon Sharp, Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez, Jason Witten, they all started retiring around Travis Kelce's
Listen, I'm 34 and I'm a regular man. I go to the gym and so on and so forth, but I'm not an NFL player and I don't have the wear and tear on my knees. But my knees at 34, just being an average person, I can only imagine that on top of an NFL career. So
and we never talk fantasy football really here. I always tell Trevor if he ever wants to, he can open up a segment to do that. But I'm not one of those guys like stardom, sit him, all that stuff. And I don't really want our show to turn into that low key. Yeah. I would rather have a separate show for that at another time. But full disclosure, in one of my fantasy leagues this year, I didn't play last year, the year before, and I had a lot of peace. But this year I decided to play. I had the first overall pick in my draft, and I took Travis Kelce. Biggest reason why is because this man's going to get 180 targets this year. Good. He's going to get a lot of receptions because, again, there's nobody right now that I can definitively say is a reliable asset to go to and say, it's a go-to guy. We don't have that yet. Hopefully they will because Travis Kelce's going to need some help, man, because he's already banged up and he hasn't even played football yet.
Yeah. So I think we should start preparing for Travis now. I think this season is a good time to experiment, and if he misses another game, we're doing it not even by choice. We're doing it because it's reality.
Yeah.
Next question is from Julia as well. Specials teams still an issue, or is there improvement?
Oh no, it's an issue.
Obviously.
It's an issue. They completely botched that fake punt. And here's the thing, guys. Like, obviously, fake punts are going to be something that you don't expect all the time. But for me, Dave Tobe is maybe the most established special teams coach in the entire NFL, outside of is it Jeff Fossil, whatever his name is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he should be able to know that a guy like Dan Campbell, who's been known to do fake punts a lot last season,
He's very aggressive. Yes.
he's gonna be aggressive. Like, you had to see it, and the Chiefs look completely lost. One thing I'll give Dave this week, with regards to special teams, is they had no penalties. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Chiefs had 0 special teams penalties, which is something I am very much for. But even with like Richie James, he looked lost.
Yeah.
And I don't know what. For me, guys, I told I was watching the game with some other family. Trevor was still occupied. But what I said to some of my family members, and I was not kidding, they laughed, but I wasn't joking. If my team has Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback, I fair catch every punt. I get that the Kadarius Toney play happened and it was historic and it was awesome and I loved it, but I can live with having 0 yards in returns if Patrick Mahomes is my quarterback. Because as he showed even in this Lions game, when he drove 92 yards on the only good drive they had offensively, like, Patrick Mahomes can drive the whole field if he needs to. So I can live with not returning any yards. And Richie James almost fumbled the ball. Luckily, his elbow hit right before the ball came out. But he looked lost. The special team just frustrates me, man. And outside of Harrison Butker, I don't look at the special teams as a net positive anymore. Like, it used to be, man. The defense before Patrick Mahomes, it was like the defense is unreal, special teams is elite, and the offense does just enough. Now it's offense more times than not is elite. The defense does just enough, and please, special teams, just stay out of the way. Like, that's what it's become, and it really sucks to say that because Dave Tobe is like a borderline Hall of Fame special teams coach, man. And he just it just feels like it's gradually just getting worse, and I don't know if it's like a Bob Sutton type of thing where maybe he's just past his time. I don't know. I hope he gets better because I believe in Dave Tobe, but man, it was very frustrating to see them give up a fake punt on the 16-yard line.
Well, in special teams, I think, especially situationally, I think it's your responsibility as a special teams coach to understand each coach that you're facing every year and understand their tendencies, right? If you understand Dan Campbell's a much more aggressive guy and his tendencies to do things and try to catch you off guard, you got to be prepared for that. You got to have adjustments.
Yeah.
If you see anything that looks a little sketchy or suspect, you got to be able to adjust and be prepared and have knowledge of the coach that you're facing. But yes, it's definitely been a problem for couple seasons at least for now. So we gotta fix that. Next question is from Dustin Orton on YouTube. Do you believe Sky Moore had chemistry with Mahomes at all?
No, I do not. I tweeted it out while the game was going on that Sky Moore looked like it was his first game with Patrick Mahomes in this game. Was he getting open? Yes, I will give Sky quick as hell. He does create separation. I love that about him. But for whatever reason, I have yet to ever see Sky Moore and Patrick Mahomes on the same page for a single game.
Yeah,
it's never happened. And I don't know what it is, Trevor. They're 21 games into this. Like, we're not sitting here going, well, Sky's got a few games in. We'll see how. No, guys, this is year 2. He's got to step up. And I was the dude singing his praises last year, saying this dude's special. Trevor's big on him this year. I don't see it yet, man. I gotta see this guy. I mean, my God, I know this isn't a diss on him, but guys, it's bad when Rashee Rice has played one career game and already has more touchdowns in his career than Sky Moore. And I'm talking about regular season. Yep. That's a problem.
It just didn't feel like that game had much for him to do. I feel like he was out there as a filler, which is strange because
weird, man.
He's going to be the guy that's on the field more than any receiver this year. Him and MVS possibly going to be on the field more than any other receivers this year, and he's supposed to be man in the slot. In the slot, I feel like he's supposed to be that Juju role this year, that possessions guy, that guy that moves the sticks and has a lot of upside. I think he has more upside than Juju because I think he has more speed, and I think he's better after the catch, and I think he's better at creating space because he's quicker.
Yeah.
And he was last night. It just felt like the tempo was off, and I feel like if you want to say chemistry, you can say chemistry, but I feel like they have chemistry. It's just I don't understand. I don't know. There was just moments where I felt like he could have got the ball and Pat was looking elsewhere, and it just didn't happen to be the night between the two of them. They're going to have their nights where they go off together. We just need consistency, especially as a guy that's going to be playing the slot. You know, he's drawn a lot of comparisons to like those of like Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard, guys like that. Those guys are consistent. Those guys have always been consistent when healthy, and we just got to see some game plans work into, some play calling work into the favor of those two kind of getting on the same page. So I'm hoping they can get that together, because if you get consistency between an elite quarterback and his slot guy and his possessions receiver, that opens everything up. And I do believe Kelsey being out there is going to change all of that for Sky Moore, because having Sky Moore and Kelsey, working the underneath is going to be a problem for defenses, especially when you got MVS over the top and Kadarius Toney creeping over with these deep slants or these deep corner routes and things like that. And yeah, I think it's going to change. Everything changes when Kelsey gets back in the picture. So I think that only helps Sky Moore.
In 21 games, this is regular season. In 21 games in his regular season career, Sky Moore only has more than 2 receptions in 3 games and has had over 40 yards once.
Yep. Yeah, he's done jack shit in his career.
Got to get better, man.
He's done jack shit, man. And
he's too talented.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a big believer in him. I really am. I think they just got to figure out a way to get him really involved. And I think he's one of those guys that once the ball gets rolling, I think he can really start racking up the yards and the catches. Sure. And I mean, as a possession guy, as a slot guy, that's your job, is to have those consistent, quick slant catches with a lot of upside. And that's what I think he can be. And I hope they get that ball rolling. Next question is from Brian Parrott. Are we done denying that we patched the O-line and didn't replace Juju yet?
Are we done
denying that we patched the O-line and didn't replace Juju yet?
Oh, so he's talking positively about the offensive line.
No, I think he's saying that are we done denying that we patched the O-line. I'm not sure if that's a negative or a positive. I took it as a negative.
Okay,
honestly.
well, I'll play both sides.
Yeah.
If we're saying that it's a negative, I'm still open-minded to the fact that they didn't upgrade at left tackle. Did they upgrade at right tackle? Absolutely. That's already been proven. Juwan Taylor is significally better than Andrew Wiley could ever dream of being. Yeah. So a right tackle, I'm already online. I'm already on the books of saying that they significantly upgraded. It was a lot of money, sure. Juwan Taylor's worth every penny. When it comes to left tackle, man, I'm still of the mind that maybe they didn't. I'm still an Orlando Brown Jr. guy. I know that people didn't like him. People still think he got Patrick Mahomes hurt in that Jaguars game. That is 100% false, and I will break that down if I ever need to again for you guys to understand this better. But, yes, Donovan Smith has to prove himself still in this offense. He looked fine in this game. Didn't look great, but he looked fine. And here's the biggest worry, Trevor. Donovan Smith wasn't going against Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson was on the left side, on the right side of the Chiefs' offensive line all night long.
Yeah.
So Juwan Taylor was the one that was dealing with that a lot, and I thought played incredible. So negatively, positively, if Donovan Smith is an upgrade, the Chiefs saved a ton of money. Not having to pay a left tackle long-term money, but eventually they're going to have to anyway, because Donovan Smith isn't a long-term answer. He's in his 30s, so he's not going to be a guy that's going to be here for 3 to 5 seasons. I think right now, as it still stands, Trevor, if the Chiefs had a first-round pick right now, I would say the Chiefs need to go offensive tackle. That's my opinion. So, yeah. And when it comes to Juju, guys, I don't know how else I can really say this. I mean, Brian knows. Everybody knows that's watched the show for any length of time and heard my opinion on wide receiver. They didn't replace Juju. Could Kadarius Toney be a replacement for a wide receiver 1? Yes, but you still don't have that possessions guy. Maybe Trevor's right, and Sky Moore does become that guy. But there's ifs, and everywhere you turn when it comes to the wide receiver room, Juju was not an if. Juju was a was. We know what he is. We know what he was in this offense. He had a purpose. He had a plan. He contributed. We need to see that from these wide receivers before I start attributing roles or attributing success to these guys before they actually do it.
Right. Next question is from Ruben DeCruz on YouTube. A vague question, but I think I know what he's getting at. Guys, what do you think we should do? I think he's
some of the wide receivers.
I think he's meaning in general. Like if Kelsey misses another game, with the receivers, terrible performance overall last year, with the lack of chemistry questions, I think it's just a general question.
Well, we should be lighting candles. I'm not a religious man, but we should be lighting candles and hope that Travis Kelce doesn't suffer another even like I'm a cramp for the rest of the year because he's the most like I put my power rankings, Trevor, the most valuable pieces on the team, and I had Chris Jones slightly above Travis Kelce in the totality of winning a Super Bowl.
No.
As it stands right now, Travis Kelce and Chris Jones just flipped because Travis Kelce is the pass game right now.
Yeah, the defense looks good.
It's Travis Kelce, and like way below my camera right now is everybody else. Hopefully those guys rise to the occasion and give me and the Chiefs some confidence, because Patrick Mahomes is going to be as confident as he can with all of his guys. He loves his guys. He'll put his trust in them. But if we're going to get to the nitty-gritty of it all, Patrick Mahomes knows it's Travis Kelce and everybody else.
Yeah.
These guys got to earn their stripes here, man.
Yeah, it was an odd night knowing that the offense was to blame for the majority of this game, and the issues came from that side.
Yeah.
And had nothing to do with Patrick Mahomes. It was literally the wide receiver room that blew this game for us. And if you're denying that, you're not being honest with yourself, and you need to go rewatch the game, because that's literally what happened. So what do we need to do? We just need to be better. I think we have a lot of guys that are going to bounce back this next week, and we have no choice because we have a much stiffer competition. No shot at the Lions, but the Jaguars, I think, are on a whole different trajectory and a whole different skill set all around on that roster over there, especially at quarterback. I mean, you think Jared Goff was out there going to deal against our defense? I mean, you got a guy that can run, and Trevor Lawrence, a guy that can move, a guy that can make the tough throws, cross-body throws. The guy's very talented, so we have a whole other set of issues coming in this next game, and I think what we need to do is just trust our guys, trust Andy Reid, trust the coaches to be better, have a better game plan, trust that the health of Kelce, he can get him back out there because, my God, we need him. But yeah, I think that's the main thing there. Next question from Brian Parrott: how many offensive possessions did we have? How many scoring drives?
Well, they had 20 points, so they had 2 touchdowns. I know that Rashid Rice caught one and Blake Bell caught one. So they only had 2 touchdown drives. I think they had the ball, was it 8 times? 7-8 times, I want to say?
Sounds right.
Yeah, I want to say 7 or 8 times because, I mean, the Lions did a really good job in this game of killing the clock. But as we know, I've always felt that's a myth when people say, like, the way to beat the Chiefs is to hold on to the ball. That's not even true at all, because we've seen in multiple occasions Patrick Mahomes goes and scores with 30 seconds left on the clock, 13 seconds left on the clock. Like, the time of possession doesn't really matter when it comes to the Chiefs. And I know that sounds arrogant, but Patrick Mahomes is that great. And we all have been talking for over 2 hours now on this show alone that if the catches are made, they go from drops to catches, the Chiefs win this game and win it handily. And I say that with a pun. Handily, they win this game if those are catches, because scoring opportunities were there all night long for the Chiefs. They simply did not execute them. So amount of possessions, time of possession does not matter in Kansas City. I hate to say it that way because I know that sounds so dismissive, but it really is when you have a quarterback this great. Is it just doesn't really matter how long you have it and how many times you have it. He will score on every single drive if given opportunity. And hell, look at the Super Bowl, Trevor. In the Super Bowl, our guy Nick Wright dropped this on his show. Of the 213 or 230, I want to say, possible yards the Chiefs could have had in the second half, Patrick Mahomes led the Chiefs to all of those yards, all possible, or 1 yard short. And the reason why? Jerick McKinnon knelt at the 1 yard line when they had the church mode on, and they brought the clock down. They kicked the game-winning field goal. Had that not been the case, they would have gotten every possible yard they could have possibly had in all their possessions in the second half. So we know that Patrick Mahomes with the ball. I think the Chiefs had the ball for 19 minutes in the Super Bowl, and they scored 38 points. 31 of it was offense, but the point still remains. The Chiefs scored over 30 points with less than 20 minutes of possession. That's insane against a defense that everybody told us was going to just rip through the Chiefs' offensive line and kill Patrick Mahomes all night. Ends up going in there doing the opposite.
Yeah, man. Next question is from Ruben DeCruz. Will the Chiefs trade Jones if he continues to this holdout?
No.
Yeah.
Guys, I don't want to tell you guys like I know from like the horse's mouth.
I understand the instinctual reason to why do you want to do that. Can we just get this guy out of here so we can get pieces? Yeah, I get it.
I understand the
it.
frustration. Yeah. Trust me. We share, guys, I promise you, if you're watching this right now and I'm looking in your eyes, we share the same frustration with Chris Jones. I want him on the damn field, and I know you all do too. Okay? Because we know this team is so much better with Chris Jones. It's still a really good team without him, but they're a great team with him, a great defense with him. I'm telling you guys right now, there's 0% chance it happens. A 0%. You can drag me if it happens. You guys can crush me, crucify me, do whatever you need to do. Burn me like Brian Parrott burned his breakfast casserole. the point is, it's not happening. I promise you it's not happening because of the fact the Chiefs get nothing out of it for this season, and this season matters to the Chiefs. It'd be one thing if the Chiefs were in rebuild mode. Let's say, key players are down for the season and the Chiefs just know they're not going to win the Super Bowl this year, whatever the case is, and they're rebuilding, they would probably trade Chris Jones because then they can get picks out of it and then rebuild for 2024. Last I checked, the Chiefs are still one of the, if not the highest, one of the highest in Super Bowl odds. They have the best quarterback in the NFL, and they have Andy Reid as their head coach with a very good defense. They're still very much in the play for Super Bowls. So they are going to hit the iron while the iron's still hot. Trading Chris Jones only hurts you. Him sitting out does hurt you, but I think the Chiefs have a much better chance of getting Chris Jones to report and getting a contract extension done than finalizing a trade with a team, because also you have to look on the other side of it, guys. If a team is to agree for a trade for Chris Jones, you know what they have to also do? Give him an extension. And do you really think that a team's going to go out there and go, yeah, we're going to give a defensive tackle, although great, at 30 years old, X amount of dollars, because Chris Jones is holding out with a team right now he's been with his whole career that's not paying him over $30 million a year. He's going to demand that even more with a new team because he's not committed to that team. You don't think he's going to hold out with that team too? So that other team has to consider 30 years old, not taking $27.5 million a year. Why would we trade a first-round pick and other picks to get Chris Jones if we're not even going to have him for a long period of time? So the trade doesn't make sense any way you look at it.
Yeah. We have a lot of people giving us the details on Justin Ross's height and weight. He is 6'4", 209.
Oh, I said 6'2", didn't I?
Yeah, so everyone's quick to correct up on
209
that.
for 6'4", that's still slim, man. You're 6'4", 209.
Oh, yeah, he ain't a jacked guy by any means. Next question, though, is from James T. Kirk. Brian and I had a side conversation about Chris Jones' contract. Should Clark Hunt step in and rein Veach in? Is Veach being petty? Interesting question.
No, Veach is not being petty. Guys, look. Again, I have been on Chris Jones' side this entire time, and I still am. I want the man to make money. But the Chiefs are offering him money that is fair market value.
Yep.
Guys,
that's the point.
Trevor, what did I say the whole time? That Chris Jones, because I went off of his initial report. I went off his initial statements. I'm not asking me the highest paid player at my position. Mm-hmm. So I checked that box, and I'm holding him to those words. I want to be a Chief for life. Check that box, holding him to his words. The Chiefs, I said, the Chiefs should pay him anywhere from $27 to $30 million a year. I said that's what I believe Chris Jones is worth. He's worth if the Chiefs paid him $30 million a year, he's worth every dime. But what did I also say, Trevor? He's not going to get more money than Aaron Donald. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's an outlier contract.
Exactly.
Man.
That contract doesn't just happen.
And plus, he's not Aaron Donald.
Well,
Aaron
now
Donald's
he's
what,
better.
a 7-time All-Pro?
Yes, but Aaron Donald's had the better career, without question.
Of course.
He's had the better career, but Chris Jones is, to his defense, he's looking at it like this. Okay, Aaron Donald is 31 years old, and he did help you guys win a Super Bowl. I'm 29, and I've helped you win 2, and we went to 3. So that's what he's. I'm just telling
Aaron
you.
Donald was the main reason that the Rams won. Chris Jones was not.
That's not my defense. I'm saying this is what Chris Jones is saying.
Yeah, for sure.
So what I'm
saying
saying
would be my rebuttal.
What I'm saying is that Chris Jones has given us these establishments, these established comments. I'm going off of that. Now, that is where I'm going to continue to stand. Brett Veach is not being petty. You know what Brett Veach is being? A businessman that's trying to build a dynasty. Mm-hmm. I will defend Brett Veach in that regard. So he can't just willy-nilly and say, all right, Chris, you want $35 million a year? Let's make it 40. Let's just go 40. Fuck it. Let's make this thing unprecedented. Let's just get you paid. Yeah. Clark Hunt then would step. That's when Clark Hunt would step in and be like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Where Clark Hunt steps in is with they're overspending because Clark Hunt is also a businessman, even more so than Brett Veach is. So the only time I can see Clark Hunt stepping in is if it's Brett Veach being irresponsible with the finances, which clearly is not the case because they also have Brent Tillis, a financial advisor that's one of the best, if not the best in the league. Those are the guys that are running this thing right now. I do not expect Clark Hunt to step in and make this thing happen. I know he's done that in the past, but that was also because Eric Berry was a very delicate situation because he overcame cancer. It was a story. You know, Eric Berry, it was a very different situation. That's not the same thing here with Chris Jones.
Right.
So I don't expect that. And quite frankly, Brett Veach didn't run that contract, by the way, with Eric Berry. That was a different situation altogether. I think that the Brett Veach has Lamar has Clark Hunt's full trust. I trust Brett Veach in this situation. I think that they've given a good enough deal for Chris Jones to report to the team, man. Like, it's not like they're offering him less than Quinnen Williams money. I know that our guys at All Chiefed Up had that established at first, guys. If it was a 3-year deal, that is the case. If you included this year and the next 2 years, it would average out to Quinnen Williams. That's not what's happening. We're looking at new money. So if new money off a 2-year deal is $27 million a year based upon the $54 million that's, by the way, fully guaranteed, which is more guaranteed money over a 2-year span than even Aaron Donald got, guys. Aaron Donald's total guarantees was like $66 million. That was a 3-year extension. So average that out. Chris Jones is technically making more money. So on a shorter deal, which means you get an opportunity to get another deal. Like, this is why Trevor said it perfectly. Like, he's listening to the wrong voices here. Listen to the guys that want you on the damn field, man, that aren't trying to make a nut off of you. That's what the Katz brothers are doing. Not the Chiefs. Yeah, the Chiefs want you because you can help them win a Super Bowl, but they are literally legitimately trying to pay you money, man. Take legitimate money. What are we waiting on? I know I told you guys that I'm mentally and emotionally prepared for Chris Jones to miss games, but that was based upon the precipice of him not getting what he deserved. He is getting what he deserved. The Chiefs are offering him a contract he deserves. Take it, damn it. Play football, man. I'm on your side, but you got to wake the hell up.
Couldn't agree more, man. Next question is from Julia, the one named Julia. Do you see this RB room, doing anything next year, or is it going to be a pissed off Pat?
I mean, that's hard to say right now. I don't, and it's early to say, but I don't expect that Jerick McKinnon will probably be back. Clyde won't be back. Isaiah Pacheco will still probably be here, barring injury or anything like that.
We'll draft another one later.
Yeah, I think Deneric Prince will probably get a shot. I think that we could see Deneric Prince this season.
I like P. Ryan too, man.
Yeah, we see running backs. It's an attrition battled position more than pretty much any other position. So more likely Deneric Prince or LaMichael will get a chance sometime this season. So it's hard to say right now, but we know that when it comes to Andy Reid's offenses, it's a rotating door
it's
running
a
back.
scheme. It's a scheme.
Yeah, I think I'm not expecting them to go. I don't think they'll ever draft another running back in the first round again. I definitely don't expect that.
And you're never going to find another Kareem Hunt like that. I don't think the impact of a guy like that. How
great would it be if they did?
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely expect. I do think the Chiefs do take the running back position seriously, though. I'm not sitting here saying they don't. They find the right guys, though, and they find them in great value. Because, like I said, Pacheco was a 7th-round pick, man. I mean, Spencer Ware, he was a mid-round pick as well. Kareem Hunt was a mid-round pick. Like, Jamal Charles was a mid-round pick. This franchise historically has gotten it right at running back. I don't think that's going to stop. But yeah, let's just wait for a few months for that to become a legitimate discussion. So it's hard to say, but I do expect the only guy right now currently in the running back room that's going to be here in 2024 that I can say with any certainty is going to be Isaiah Pacheco.
And I will say it's hard for these running back room to be as productive as we want them to, and we don't run the ball enough, and we're very inconsistent with the run play calling, and that's play calling was the inconsistency and them not being able to. Running is a rhythmic type of position, right? Obviously, receiver is too, but receivers are consistently running routes every single play and getting in, and involved. Running backs, if they're not running enough, it's going to be very spotty as far as production goes. Next question is from Mika. Does Lance rate Justin Watson for his play on Thursday? I think he said, how does Lance rate? What he meant was, how does Lance rate Justin Watson for his play on Thursday? Does he look like he has improved?
No, he doesn't look like
he is who he is.
He is who he is, but I will say this. He wasn't a negative at all.
No, he was good.
He
has Pat's trust. I've said that from the beginning. He has Pat's trust.
If I'm not mistaken, you guys can correct me in the chat. I think he had 3 targets. Mm-hmm. He had 2 receptions for 45 yards, and the third target was the pass interference.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm never going to shit on a guy
He was stretching the field. The boy's fast. I'll give him that. You guys
know, look, I will stand by what I said because that's what I do with everything. I don't believe Justin Watson's good enough to be on this team because I think everybody else is more talented. And I think as the season progresses, you're going to see what I'm talking about because he got 2 receptions in this game. It wouldn't shock me at all. And in fact, I'm predicting it if he had less than 12 or 13 receptions for the rest of the season because Justin Watson's just not going to be a guy they go to a lot. Yeah. Like I said,
once the talented guys kind of start getting up to par, I believe that too.
Trevor, honestly, I'm going to start naming some names. Stop me when you think that Justin Watson's going to get more good targets than these guys. Here we go. Kadarius Toney.
Hell no.
Sky Moore. MVS, Rashee Rice, Justin Ross, That's 5
No,
names.
I agree with you. He should be on the bottom of the.
I didn't even say Richie James.
Yeah.
Richie James is going to get more targets than Justin Watson. So
more touches
that's
for sure.
6 names right there, guys. Trevor just agreed with me that are going to get more targets in totality for the season than Justin Watson. He's going to play his role.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to that, especially when he's efficient like he was. Like I said, 3 targets, 2 catches, 45 yards, and the other target was a pass interference that went all the way down the field. By the way, the Chiefs could have used more than ever in the Mahomes era because holy shit, the offense was struggling, and that got them down the field, and it resulted in a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. So that is what I'm looking at. Justin Watson did fine. I'll give him a B+, A- for what he did.
Yeah, I agree. Next question, James Kirk. When should the Chiefs stop trying to shoehorn CEH into the rotation? Pacheco and Clyde had 14 carries between them. I'm sorry, but I think Pacheco should have 14 carries alone.
Well, here's the thing. Pacheco's still not healthy.
Yeah.
I've been telling you guys this forever. Like, Pacheco is such a warrior. He's going to make it look like he's healthy when he's really not. Did anybody know about his 2 injuries last year before they announced it midway through this offseason? I didn't know about his torn labrum. I didn't know about his hand injury. But he had them, and he fought through them. The Chiefs know their chances of winning another Super Bowl are better with Pacheco as healthy as possible down the stretch.
Man, yeah.
He's their best running back. So that is, guys, why do you think I predicted that Clyde was going to lead the team in rushing yards for the first month? And I still think that's going to happen because of the fact that they know 2 things. Pacheco is their running back 1 that they have to keep fresh down the stretch, like I just said. And 2, Clyde is on his final year with the team. They can bell cow him, use him up. I know it sounds dark and morbid, but they can let his body get beat to shit. And then Jerick McKinnon and Pacheco ease their way into the season just like they did last year. And booyah, we're talking about a team that has 2 healthy running backs that are pivotal characters for this offense. That's how it's going to go.
Yeah. We have one more question here, I think, from Mika. We touched on this just a little bit ago, but I just want to get it out there. Do you think Sky and Mahomes are just not getting on the same page, or does it feel like Sky is just struggling to step up to the NFL level?
No, I don't think that Sky is not good enough for the NFL level because his ability is being shown as far as creating separation. If he wasn't getting separation, and he was getting locked up like crazy, I'd be like, this guy may not be like cut out for this league. He's just not fast enough, or he doesn't have the body maneuverabilities. No, he's got the breakaways. He's got the ability to create separation, quite frankly, at a pretty high level, very notable level. That was one of my favorite things about him coming out of, was it Western Michigan? I believe that's the school, same as Greg Jennings. But the problem is it just doesn't seem like Patrick is looking his way enough because of the fact that they haven't built that camaraderie where Patrick knows he's a guy that he can go to. I'm not trying to put it all on Sky. Maybe Patrick needs to give him a couple more, needs to uncork it and give Sky more opportunities, especially if Travis Kelce's going to be banged up. But for whatever reason, man, it just hasn't happened to this point through 21 games of his career. I say that, but I don't want to close the book on Sky by any means because one of the greatest receivers of all time was Chris Carter. Go look at his career stats for the first 2-3 seasons of his career. It's very comparable. The guy that we compared Sky Moore to originally was, what's his name from the Seattle Seahawks and the Lions, Golden Tate. He had a slow start to his career as well, man. I think he had like 300 total yards in his first season. And then he started to become a guy that got 6, 7, 800 yards, 5, 6, 7 touchdowns a season, became a very solid guy in those offenses. I'm still expecting Sky to be that guy. When is it going to happen? I don't know, but I don't think it's an if at this point. If he goes through the rest of this season and has a similar stat comparison to last season, yeah, the Chiefs are going to have to upgrade at wide receiver because 2 full seasons of Sky Moore putting up like 500 combined yards, that's a real problem.
I think Sky's going to be a good player on this team.
I hope so.
Not a question, but it's a nice comment from a new name in this chat. Greg W. on YouTube. He said, I'm not a fan. I'm not an NFL fan, or I'm not an NFL guy, but I like the passion you guys have. Keep it going. I bet your channel grows. You brought me in for sure. LOL. Keep going, fellas. See ya. Thumbs up for sure.
Thank you very much, man.
Appreciate the love. Thank you for that.
That
man.
really means a lot. Thank you, Greg.
Always nice to see a new face, a new name in here. Let me see. We got some more questions going on down here. Why is Clyde getting more reps? We kind of just touched on that. That was from John Johnson. Brian Parrott. Let's see. Does Veach get it done and Chris plays against the Jags?
I feel right now like I feel right now that it can happen. Primarily because of the fact that Chris Jones right now at this point is only hurting himself. Like, he's only going to keep losing more money, and I know he said that he can afford it, and I know he can because he got an $80 million extension in 2020, but only 60 of that was guaranteed, so some 19 and a half of that he may not make. He can wait out till week 8. I just don't really know what the point would be because the Chiefs, here we are, 0-1. It's 2 days after, and the Chiefs haven't budged on their agreement, on their offer. So if the Chiefs aren't going to move off of it, you're set to make X amount of dollars this year, and they're trying to pay you for the next 2, and it is where it's at, and nothing's changing. Dude, you have to accept it. My theory was, and we'll see if I'm wrong, Trevor. Maybe I will be. I think that him holding on in week 1 and then showing up to the game was his one last ditch effort of, let's see if I can get the Chiefs to budge at all. They didn't. They won't. They will not.
Yeah, he's losing all his leverage.
Just Monday, dude, say, okay, because he's in Kansas City still. I've had that confirmed. He is in Kansas City. I want to see on Monday morning, Chiefs and defensive tackle Chris Jones agree to a 2-year extension. We'll report on Monday morning or Tuesday morning, and he's practicing.
I want this shit over with.
Please. Like, for God's sakes, dude, because it's not making sense anymore. Yeah. It has to be done unless he's really just not wanting to play football, which I highly doubt. This dude is so competitive.
That's where the hypocrisy comes in for me. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, you nailed it on that take, man.
It's driving me crazy.
Just get freaking back, man. And help
be who you say
win.
you are.
Yeah.
Just be who you say you are. You want to be the best teammate. You want to build a dynastic run. You want them to make a movie about this. You want to be a part of this continuing moving forward.
Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah.
You know, he still could. Look, miss one game,
Absolutely
you can still
could.
win Defensive Player of the Year. Like, look at it, man. Like, let's be real. Like, you could still 16 games. You get 16 games. He could still get 13, 14, 15 sacks. Yeah. It could still, because we saw him do it in 2018. 16 games played, 15 and a half sacks. Dude goes out there and has another 15 sack season. Helps this defense get to the Super Bowl again. He can win Defensive Player of the Year. Get your money, dude.
The way this defense looked already, get him and a Minahu back. This defensive unit is going to be wild. It's going to be wild, man. So please,
especially with the emergence of FAU and George Karlaftis. George Karlaftis took a big step. Yeah. I know that's Brian's guy. That's our guy, too. We love George Karlaftis. Yes. I think you have him leading the team in sacks this year. It can happen.
Chris is going to help with that.
It can happen.
Come on, man.
FAU looks good. You get Charles Omenihu, Chris Jones, FAU, and freaking George Karlaftis. That's an unstoppable four-headed monster.
And then Snead and Jamari Connor getting in there with those blitzes. I'm telling you.
But here's the beautiful thing. Then Spags doesn't have to dial up all these creative blitzes if you don't want to. Because if you can get 4 guys to create pressure, dude, you can have everybody pinned back, have 6-7 corners out there, your elite linebacking room. Oh, my God. Endless what Spags can do with that bag.
This is the most excited I've been about our defense in a long time.
Yeah, man.
Okay, next question is from Mika L. What do you think of this talk about fans from fans to trade for Mike Evans?
It's not happening.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Okay,
if we didn't go after DeAndre Hopkins, I mean,
this is the only way it happens, Trevor. And I mean the only way. Chris Jones gets his extension. Mike Evans doesn't get his and refused to play for the Bucs. And it's like, all right, he's becoming a deterrent to our team, our detriment to this team, rather. We know that we're not a contender this year, Buccaneers speaking, and we have him on this 1 year left. Let's see what we can get out of him. And the Chiefs give up a mid-round pick for Mike Evans. That is the only way that would happen. I don't think it's going to happen. The Chiefs have been so hell-bent on making this wide receiver room work as is. It would shock me if in the next month the Chiefs just say, you know what? 6 months of doing it this way, let's just stop and let's go get a 30-year-old veteran to finally do what Lance has been saying we should do all along. I don't think they're going to think I'm that right. I am right, but I'm not going to be that right to the Chiefs. So I don't see it happening. Would I love it? Yes, because Mike Evans in this offense with Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes would be literally unstoppable. So I would love to see it happen, especially if the Chiefs will only give up like a 3rd or a 4th round pick to get Mike Evans. Sign me up. But here's the other problem, Trevor. Like we talked about this offseason about possible trade assets. That remember we said it wasn't just D-Hop. There's Terry McLaurin. There was Mike Evans. There was other guys. When we broke it all down at the end of the day, whoever trades for Mike Evans is going to have to give him an extension.
Exactly.
So unless Mike Evans is willing to come to Kansas City and not take an extension.
Or next offseason. Next offseason we could figure something out.
The Chiefs will not pay Mike Evans.
No, because Mike Evans is going to want big money.
Yes.
He's still very much in the prime of his career.
He's still an elite receiver.
Yeah, he's a guy that you can mark down for 1,000 and at least 8 touchdowns a year.
At least.
So, yeah, not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen either, but that'd be awesome. But I'd much rather have D-Hop. I thought he was a better fit, but that didn't happen either. So that is all the questions I see so far, man. And I appreciate you guys, man. This is maybe the most active I've ever seen our chat. And we had some newcomers and some new faces and names in here. I appreciate the love, man. It's been extremely active. I'm looking forward to the rest of this season going forward, man. When we have all these other conversations, topics are going to come up, and it's yeah, I couldn't thank you guys enough, man. The usuals, the people that are here every day, and then some new faces today, and yeah, it's been active today. I appreciate it.
Could not have said it better. I could not have said it better. You guys are awesome. We love you guys to death, and we got regulars, like I said, and then Trevor had the Greg guy drop a line for us. If that shit doesn't get you inspired, man, I don't know what does.
Yeah, he says he's not even an NFL guy. I appreciate that.
And
man.
he's watching a show that primarily talks NFL, so we love that, man, so much, and that gets me fired up for sure. And you guys always get me fired up. So as long as we have these nucleus of people, man, to keep joining us every single week, we're gonna keep doing this thing, man, because we love it. But yeah, that's that. We appreciate all the questions. We appreciate all that, and I think, Trevor, if I'm not mistaken, we have one more order of business to get to. What is it called? Hold this L. Each and every episode, we finish off each and every episode with a series of L's in the world of sports, whether those L's are friendly or not so friendly L's in the world of sports. We promise you, whoever is holding the L's in the world of sports deserve those L's in the world of sports. Trevor Twidwell, who's holding the L for you this week?
Listen, I'm gonna keep this short. We're almost going on 3 hours here for the show today, so I'm gonna keep mine short and sweet.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah. You touched on the U.S. women's soccer failing. Granted, they fell short far too early. But the American men basketball team, they lost to Germany, man. I'm not talking shit on Germany. Germany has a lot of they have some good players. A lot of people, some guys that play in the NBA that you may know, some guys that most of the guys in that roster you do not know. And there's just no reason. The USA men's basketball was by far the big favorite this year, of course, as they are every season. Every Olympics, it seems like. Yeah, they fell short. Now they're fighting for third place. And you got Steve Kerr as the coach. You got a lot of talent on the. You got Brunson and it's a lot of players, man. Halliburton, so many good studs on this offensive team or on this American team, and for Germany to stun the U.S. It's just unacceptable, honestly, for the talent that we have on the roster. NBA is the accumulation of the most talented basketball players in the world, and we had a lot of great talented guys representing the team this year. And I felt that just kind of was brushed under the rug, like you said, like with the women's soccer team was brushed under the rug, and no one really talked about it. Well, I'm going to give these guys their due. There's no reason for us to settle for anything less than first place every single time we go on this tournament here. So for that, men's USA basketball team, do me a solid favor and hold this L.
You guys know I've made it no mystery that Trevor and I have certain people that we look up to. Shaggy's one of the guys that has been like that for me as well. He's been a great friend, like an older brother. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. Trevor's right after me, so I don't have an older sibling, but Shane's very much like that. There's also a few other guys like that, and one of those kind of guys that I like to consider that way is also my boy Nick Wright. And unfortunately, my guy was Nick Wrong this week because all offseason, I love the way Nick portrays himself on social media and on his show, which, by the way, First Things First is awesome.
Great show.
I love the camaraderie they have. Sometimes I wish Broussard would let Nick finish his thought before going, well, I don't know, Nick. Sometimes I wish he would just kind of hone it in, but that's just my nitpicking. But my guy Nick made a very irresponsible prediction before the season even started, something that I disagreed with from the beginning. Even though I'm a guy that had the Chiefs going 15-2, that's 2 more losses than what my guy Nick Wright had for the Chiefs this year. That's right. Nick legitimately picked the Chiefs to go 20-0, and not only did he have them going 20-0, Trevor, he put a tattoo on his arm that literally said without a doubt. And by the way, it is 100% a real tattoo. This has been confirmed.
Boy.
It's a real tattoo right on his left forearm that says without a doubt. It pissed his wife off, as Nick admitted. Daniel was very upset about it. His kids have been getting TikToks from all their friends of their dad just getting dragged under the mud on social media.
He asked for it, man.
He asked for it. And he also asked for an L from us at the Spoken because not only did they not go 20-0, they couldn't get out of the gates with a win. And it sucks because it's salt on the wound to us Chiefs fans, but this is directed to my guy. Yeah. My dude Nick gets all the praise from us all the time because I think he's the best in the business at what he does. He's going to continue to be that because the man's not even 40 yet. He's got a bright future ahead of him in the broadcasting booth. Whatever he wants to do in his career, he's going to do it and he's going to flourish at it. But this is by far the worst take of his career. And today he's going to do me a solid, Trevor, and hold this L. We appreciate it from our guy Nicholas Wright.
Rough.
Love you, brother. You know I do. But then, again, Trevor, to pedal back on what you just said, the chat was on fire today. Our guy Shaggy Shane was on fire today. Even though we're coming off an 0-1 experience right now for the Chiefs, an unprecedented thing for us in the Mahomes era.
Uncharted territory.
I'm not giving up on this team one bit. That game was very much winnable, as we've already talked about today, and I think this team's going to win a lot of games. I'm standing firm. I believe this team's going to win the Super Bowl. They will have Travis Kelce back. They will have Chris Jones back, and they're going to build upon the building blocks that they have been building upon for the last 5 years. Damn, I actually got that out smooth. That was nice. But you know what? You guys are awesome. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. This is so much fun for us every single week. I look for this. I'm not kidding. Like, after the show, we might be a little exhausted because we go for a couple of hours. We had a long week, but I ain't going to lie to you. By Saturday night, I can't wait for the next show. And this is why you guys really make this fun for us, and we hope that we do the same for you, where we make it fun for you right back. We try to be as interactive as possible. So if you can go to YouTube, hit subscribe, hit the notification so when we go live, you know it first and foremost. But most importantly, hit us up in the comments like you do every single week. Tell your friends about us. Tell your friends about me. And we will continue to do great things together. The season just got kicked off, and I can't wait to celebrate victories with you guys, and hopefully we will be celebrating another Super Bowl victory with you guys. But in the meantime, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's enjoy this. This has been a fun show. Let's continue to bask in it and continue to comment if you guys got anything additional that you want to throw in here. We'll be as interactive with you as we possibly can throughout the week. So for Trevor Twidwell, for the great Clay Windler that puts all this together in the back end of things, I am Lance Twidwell of the Spoken Podcast. Episode 233 is done, finished, and finito. And until we're back here in 1 week's time for episode 234 to hopefully be predicting a Chiefs victory in Jacksonville, we out of this bitch.
Later.